A massive pillar of light signals the absolute end of humanity. Tartarus, the demon god of destruction, watches the world burn with satisfied eyes. One final strike is all he needs to shatter the last hope of mankind. Zephyr gasps for air, his broken body the only thing left of a dead civilization. It has been a year since the war was lost, leaving nothing but smoke and ruin. The demon lord looms over his prey, savoring the death of a world he dismantled piece by piece. Yet defiance still burns in Zephyr's eyes, even as his heart begins to fail. A mockery of a choice is offered by the monster standing in the ashes. Binding light envelops the hero, trapping him in place. Tartarus admits that this human was an unexpectedly persistent nuisance during the conquest. With a heavy step, he moves through the smoke to deliver his final verdict. In one breath, he claims it would be a waste for the peak specimen of a weak species to just rot. A jagged smirk reveals the motherfucking monster's true intent behind this sudden offer of mercy. The plan is to recruit him to help conquer the home of the gods themselves. A clawed hand reaches out, inviting the man to embrace a dark, eternal destiny. Everything stops as the warrior weighs the cost of selling his soul. With a voice like grinding stones, Zephyr asks if the demon is actually being serious. Confidence radiates from the monster as he waits for the inevitable surrender. A bloody smile tugs at the hero's lips as he admits the offer is tempting. The truth is, Tartarus only wants to savor the sight of his greatest enemy begging. Instead of taking the hand, our boy reaches for a hidden power deep inside. Fingers lock onto the demon's wrist with a grip that carries the weight of a dying world. Raw energy from another dimension begins to spiral around his fist, burning white hot. This suicidal attack is the only answer the monster deserves. A blinding flash consumes the ruins in an instant. The strike triggers a massive explosion that carves a crater and swallows them both whole. Silence returns as the smoke clears from the site of humanity's final stand. Shock freezes the demon's face for the first time in centuries. Looking down at his mangled arm, the monster realizes his pride has been permanently scarred. Pure rage contorts those demonic features at the sight of his first real injury. A scream of fury echoes through the empty wasteland. He curses the name of the man who dared to ruin his perfect combat record. The demon strikes at empty air, his legendary status shattered alongside the world he destroyed. Consciousness begins to drift away from the fallen hero. But instead of the abyss, Zephyr wakes up to a sight that shouldn't be possible. And then he finds himself kneeling in a majestic hall where the air hums with divine energy. Towering statues of ancient gods watch over him in a temple existing outside of time. This is the pantheon, residence of the very beings who abandoned his world to flames. A celestial figure descends from the heights to greet him. Instinct takes over as the warrior readies himself for a fight, even in the afterlife. Right then and there, he is stunned to find his body completely restored and his armor looking brand new. The angel introduces herself as Mercedes, a messenger sent by the three supreme gods. One beat later, she stands with a haunting grace, commanding more respect than any demon he ever faced. Normally, a soul like his would be bound for the underworld immediately. However, the deities were so impressed by his spirit that they granted a second chance. Before anyone can react, he is being sent back to the past, to a world not yet burned to the ground. Every memory and hard-won piece of experience will remain locked inside his mind. Imagine waking up from the apocalypse only to find the gods used your life as a show. He looks at his hands, feeling the terrifying reality of returning to a young body. Mercedes waits patiently for his response to this divine intervention. In the middle of it all, he cuts her off, eyes demanding to know what these calculating bastards truly want in exchange. Experience has taught him that nothing from the gods is ever free. With dead calm, he vividly remembers them ignoring prayers as the demon army marched across the world. The angel reveals the cold, hard truth of their situation. Apparently, the gods simply want to see something more entertaining than the previous failure. Pure disgust floods his features as he realizes his survival was just for their amusement. The deaths of his friends were nothing more than plot points to them. In the confusion, she explains that it is rare for a human to show such indomitable will. Immediately, they were so impressed by his crusade that they decided to fund a sequel. Even his lucky breaks during the war were divine interventions to keep ratings high. He roars in fury at the injustice of it all. The images of fallen comrades burn in his mind, fueling a rage the gods cannot suppress. On instinct, he declares that humanity didn't bleed just to keep bored deities entertained. With no time to breathe, a massive stone foot descends, crushing crushing him as a reminder of his place. Then and there, he gasps for air, pinned to the floor like an insect. Mercedes stands over him, explaining the cold reality of their divine boredom. Humans are usually too dull to notice the strings being pulled. For a quick second, she offers her hand one last time, a pact written in blood and hope. The deal is struck, sealing his fate. On pure instinct, he looks up at her, a promise of retribution hidden behind a mask of compliance. With a snap, gravity shifts, and the ritual of rebirth is officially triggered. And someone else wanted this outcome too. Through a magical mirror, he sees Tartarus throwing a fit in another corner of the pantheon. The demon lord is demanding that his embarrassing loss be removed from history records. It turns out the monster is just as petty and prideful as any human. A rematch is all the demon wants to restore his ego. Zephyr realizes his second chance is fueled by the vanity of his greatest enemy. The time for talk ends as the golden light of the reincarnation spell consumes him. A fist clenches tight in the light. This time, he won't just hold the line. He will burn the entire system down. Massive magic circles fill the air, setting coordinates for a leap across time. Mercedes wishes him luck, reminding him the gods are still watching the show. His eyes snap open in a different time. Cold water hits his face, so a brutal greeting from a life he thought escaped. Before anyone can react, he finds himself surrounded by the familiar, tired faces of his fellow temple slaves. A fucking scarred brute stands over him, laughing about his supposed rebirth from a nap. Faces of the dead return to haunt him. Without thinking twice, he begins to chuckle, a sound so hollow even the bullies step back. Muscle memory kicks in. He is back in the days when he was nothing more than a nameless miner. The supervisor shouts that break time is over, ordering the trash back to the pits. The bastard bully warns that any more weirdness will result in a trip to the lab. No time to waste, he wipes his eyes, clearing the vision of his past life. A small figure in tattered robes thanks him for taking a beating earlier. Like it was nothing, he looks at the kid, a forgotten piece of his past, reminding him of his goals. 10 years is a long time, but the muscle memory of suffering is fresh. The command is whispered into the silence. As other slaves trudge into darkness, he prepares to shatter this weak body's limits. A pale green aura flares around him. Without even blinking, he stands like a pillar of light, a king reclaiming his throne in the mud. The volume of information flooding his mind is almost enough to crush him, but he doesn't break under the pressure. With these divine gifts, the climb back to the top will take weeks, not years. A second later, he strikes the rock with a pace that makes the air whistle, strength amplified. The other miners watch in stunned silence as the rookie does the work of 10 men. No second thoughts. He doesn't feel the weight of the labor anymore. A sharp throb behind his eyes reminds him his mind is processing divine data. He reviews his arsenal, finding legendary abilities like the Wall of Iron for defense. Everything is going exactly as planned. The mining team head stomps over, unhappy with any slave standing out. The very next moment, he threatens to break the rookie's spirit if he doesn't keep his head down. The leather whip cracks through the air like a gunshot, aimed at his face. Zephyr catches the whip mid-strike. He looks down at the dumbass bully with a gaze that drops the cave's temperature. His skin isn't marked, thanks to a perk canceling damage lower than his durability. The next second, he resumes work, realizing he can maintain peak intensity for a week without rest. A mountain of resources is delivered, shattering all previous temple records. The supervisor reads the results in disbelief. Team F is declared the winner, a miracle for the bottom-ranked group. Older slaves are furious, suspecting foul play from the weaklings who took their pride. The mine's brutal policy ensures the weak starve, so the strong thrive. Evening prayers begin now in the grim facility. Before anyone blinks, he stares at the goddess statue, seeing a celestial debt collector, not a protector. Around him, men talk about sleep, unaware of the storm about to break. Then and there, he ignores the glares of the jealous. In a split second, he looks at the brand on his skin, a shackle he will pay back in blood. Every action is a calculated step toward the total destruction of his enemies. A priestess invites the sinners to spend earnings at the predatory temple store. In no time, then he is disgusted by prices designed to keep them in a cycle of debt. The kid offers his meager coins to help. In a single beat, he refuses, telling the kid to keep the money and stay far away. Sabotage is part of the game here, used to maximize profit from the desperate. He approaches the counter encounter with a purpose. When short of gold, he signs for a predatory loan with an unnerving smile. Unshaken, he begins to down the magical liquid, expanding his mana pool with every drop. It usually takes 100 bottles, but his perks have changed the math completely. Hermes' secret skill boosts potion effectiveness by 500%, creating real power. Training continues in the dark of the night. There and then, he pushes through agony, using durability perks to ignore screaming muscles. The next morning, he reports a strange sound, setting his next plan in motion. Dungeons are the only path to rapid power. He envisions the legendary armor he will forge from the beasts he hunts. A group of specialized hunting slaves arrives, armored and ready to spill blood. These are the enforcers of the temple's will. Our boy stands among the giants, appearing as a simple pack mule. The clerk warns that his debt has reached the absolute limit for the month. Selling organs is suggested as a payment method. He agrees to the surgery for next week, a bluff none of them see. In no time, he downs the last potion, radiating pressure that unsettles the nearby guards. A sea of empty glass is left behind him. Goethe, the recon unit head, asks if a mere miner is up for the task. In the same moment, he introduces two warriors, unaware they are walking toward their graves. Zephyr explains the importance of mana detection, a skill the rookies lack. In the chaos, he carries the heavy gear without complaint. He recalls being a coward in his first life who avoided this mission. This time, he leads the doomed men directly into the beast's mouth. These men are just pieces on his board. In one clean decision, they reach the heavy stone gates, the air thick with wet fur smell. A magic bracelet is snapped onto his wrist to prevent escape. The party descends into gloom, torches flickering against the oppressive dark. Scavengers emerge from the shadows to feed. A well-placed stone draws attention, proving these dogs have some tactical sense. Goat moves with veteran efficiency, silencing his target instantly. The other scout finishes his foe quickly. They trudge deeper, unaware the dungeon master is watching them. In a heartbeat, he points to a specific darkened passage. Like it was nothing, they find polished bones, a sign something large is feeding here. Goethe suggests clearing the area themselves, greedy for solo rewards. One warrior feels the creeping fear of the depths. For a tiny moment, he points out they are short-handed, but the leader is blinded by glory. Zephyr offers a secret to tip the scales. The scent of the moon bush fills the tunnel, an irresistible aroma for beasts. A predator is lured out by the bait. It falls into a hidden trap, its death howl echoing through stone corridors. The warriors laugh together at their success. Goethe takes all credit, claiming his maturity won the day. The hero watches with pity, knowing arrogance precedes a downfall. Deep tunnels are never truly empty. The leader hands him a cheap dagger, a mocking reward. In that moment, he thinks he found a fool to exploit, but roles are flipping. A massive claw erupts from the darkness. The scout is slammed into the floor, armor and spine shattering instantly. Terror replaces arrogance as they realize they are being hunted. The tank activates his shield in panic. A heavy tail swipe smashes the barrier like thin glass. In all the chaos, he collapses in the dirt, defenseless. The beast reveals itself, a massive, multi-eyed nightmare. Goethe is completely paralyzed by the sight. Back at the surface, magic bracelets snap, signaling total slaughter. The leader is left alone, weapon trembling in blood-slicked hands. Zephyr steps into the light to take charge. The beast slides across the floor, intent on devouring the remaining prey. This is a blue-scale predator, a monster that eats everything in its path. With dead calm, he takes the heavy spear from the fallen. In that moment, he spins the weapon with a grace no miner should possess. The silver key perk ignites within him. Without even blinking, he pulls rare dragonweed from a hidden dimension to paralyze the giant. He coats the weapon's tip with the potent extract. The predator lunges, a tunnel of teeth descending toward the human. Fear radiates from the beast for the first time. For a brief second, the hero sees the original war and burning world, but memories cannot break him now. He parries a flurry of strikes, metal clanging against diamond-hard scales. The creature tries to crush him, but he dances through gaps with precision. With icy calm, he spits out the berry he was chewing. In an instant, he prepares a vial of Belial, a poison banned by alchemist guilds. He recalls the alchemist Fade who created it. Zephyr leaps, silhouette framed by the glowing dungeon man. mana. He carries the hope of a dead world in his strike. He coats the blade in black ichor, toxin sizzling in the air. A second later, he delivers a crushing blow to the head, forcing jaws open. In one move, he drives the poisoned spear deep into the throat, bypassing armor. The monster slams into the earth, defeated. It tries to roar, but its lungs have turned to mush. With no warning, he tosses a second vial to ensure the kill. In no time, he rolls clear as the predator thrashes in its final moments. His body is screaming from the exertion. In a snap, he stands over the corpse, looking like the godslayer he will become. The body begins to dissolve into mana. In a heartbeat, he uses the silver key to snatch the creature's core before it vanishes. His body is too weak to handle more. A final blow ends the struggle, leaving only his ragged breathing. The weapon snaps in half from the stress. He slides his hidden blade back, face returning to cold indifference. On instinct, he plucks the mana stone from the remains. This single gem is worth 1,000 days of labor. In seconds, he stands among the dead, victorious. With no warning, he clenches his fist, feeling mana stabilize in his young veins. A pulse of energy erupts from his core. The unit leader watches with terrified eyes, unable to comprehend the sight. Zephyr walks toward the exit, leaving the carnage. On pure instinct, he recalls another monster from his past, a man named Sahak. Sahak enjoys breaking bones and using holy titles for evil. He is a secret worshipper of Tartarus, a cancer inside the temple. A demonic parasite is revealed to be hiding in plain sight. The dipshit enforcer believes his secret is safe, unaware a hunter is coming. Inquisitor Matthias is already watching the corruption spread. In a blink, he knows the temple is being hollowed out and time is running short. Just for a moment, he demands real results from his agents. Back in the present, Gota brings the hero before officials to claim credit. The leader's rank is tied to this success. Goat smiles, thinking he found the ultimate tool to climb the hierarchy. Zephyr shows off his skill to the incredulous captains. The captain is stunned, realizing he found a miracle, not a tool. The hero offers a dark deal to the leadership. In one clean decision, he is looking for a specific artifact that will be discovered in 1 month. All of a sudden, he is officially promoted to hunter status. In one move, he walks through the square, silver hair catching the sunset light. He is blocked by Sahak and the Inquisitor's mad hounds. Goat bows his head low in fear. Sahak walks with the confidence of an untouchable killer, but he stops in his tracks, sensing something. In one clean decision, he looks back, single eye searching for the source of the pressure. His agents follow like ghosts in his wake. Goti explains that Sahak joined the temple just to legally kill people. The enforcer points a finger at the new hunter. Gota tries to explain the transfer, but Sahak's aura sends him into panic. "Shut up," the agent commands. Soon after, he looms over the hero, mana swirling like a dark storm. Zephyr looks back with eyes that have seen the apocalypse. A dragon spirit ignites within him now. Sahak questions how someone this strong failed aptitude tests. Something here is very wrong to his senses. All of a sudden, he suspects he has found a heretic, a career-making prize. His eyes narrow in deep suspicion. He lunges forward, a blur of red and brown. In a snap, he smiles as he strikes with lethal intent. Zephyr remains still, calculating the blow's trajectory with cold precision. Just for a moment, he recognizes that demonic mana signature instantly. Two worlds collide in the square as hero and traitor lock eyes. Sahak holds his blade tight, ready for blood. Without missing a beat, he warns that resistance is an admission of guilt against the gods. His men close the circle to trap the prey. The crowd watches in horror, eyes expecting a public execution. Our boy just smiles back at the threat. Rage pushes the agent to strike, blade glowing with sickly red energy. The red field activates, suppressing the area. The hero takes a stance dating back to the First Age. Sahak moves like a thunderbolt, raining down attacks. A storm of strikes falls, but the hero moves like he's in a dream. In a blink, he dodges a fatal blow by a hair's breadth. No warning at all, he ducks under a wild swing, counterattack ready. A jab hits the skull, stunning the attacker. With steady composure, he follows with a kick, carrying the momentum of a falling mountain. The dumbass enforcer is sent tumbling across the stones. Without a pause, he looks up in disbelief, unable to fathom a slave's speed. Those legs seem made of steel. The giant scumbag enforcer joins, swinging a spiked ball to crush the insect. Zephyr is hit by the chain but stands firm. Sahak grovels in the dirt, trying to recover. The hero punches the iron weapon, impact echoing like a bell. In one smooth motion, he slides through the guard with ease. The giant flares his mana to crush the nuisance. A massive boom shakes the ground beneath them. Rocks rain down as the courtyard turns into a war zone. Sahak is systematically dismantled by superior skill. The hero evades the glowing chains, moving with musical rhythm. In the middle of it all, he is momentarily caught in the trap. On pure instinct, he grits teeth, mana flaring blue to battle the divine field. The fucking enforcer laughs in premature triumph. Sahak raises his blade for execution, face full of sadistic joy. A flash of crimson light erupts, but Zephyr walks through the blast, snapping chains like rotted thread. The traitor screams in sudden terror. No time to waste, he lunges in a final, desperate attempt to reclaim honor. A strike lands perfectly clean on the giant. The hero catches the iron chain, muscles bulging as he overpowers him. A final crash marks the enemy's total failure. He delivers a smash that sends the scumbag enforcer into the temple wall. Sahak's mind breaks instantly at the display. Zephyr stands over his broken foe, a shadow of coming justice. Soon after, he tells the fallen man to bring talent next time he wants a show. The giant lies in the dust, defeated. Blue flames dance along his arm as he prepares to settle the debt. In one smooth motion, he notes that men like this are the first to sell their souls. A basic magic skill creates a massive impact. A shockwave ripples through the square, leaving a crater. The temple falls silent at the display of power. Sahak glares through blood, a hatred forming that will last eons. Zephyr just turns away easily, dismissing the threat. In the middle of it all, he walks into the sunset, his footsteps the only sound left. From a high balcony, an observer watches the scene. The figure wonders if the master sent a savior or a destroyer. The shadow knows the truth of what is coming. Sahak is left broken in the dust. In a snap, he thinks the first step of his plan is perfectly executed, but his veins begin to throb painfully. Without thinking twice, he collapses, energy drained by using high-level mana in a weak body. Pure instinct. He is still just human, after all. A dark, swirling portal rips through the sky, signaling the collector. A spirit named Shylock appears, wearing the mask of a god. No second thoughts, he comes to collect the debt for the power used. And then he explains that the damage Zephyr ignored was just stored for later. The god of debt watches with greedy eyes. He waits to collect on every single soul in the system. A glowing pillar indicates the total cost is finally being measured. Zephyr feels the crushing weight settle on his shoulders. A second later, he struggles to stay conscious as the backlash hits. He rips open his bandages with trembling hands. No hesitation. He reveals a tiny vial of recovery water, a drop for survival. A giant golden coin looms over him. No time to waste, he glares at the spirit with a gaze that refuses ownership. Without a pause, he hits the ground hard, body failing. At the last second, he downs the liquid to face the storm. A massive slam signals the end of the beginning. Zephyr lies in the dirt with a grin that says he knows exactly what he just got away with. Survival isn't just about fighting monsters, it's about knowing when to hide and when to run. A rude gesture at the empty sky seals the deal. The spirit crushes the timer as his prey slips through the contract loophole. Without thinking twice, he wakes up strapped to a table like a lab rat. Sister Anna wears a holy smile that doesn't reach her predatory eyes. That facade drops the second she mentions the mountain of gold he owes. Not long after, she looms over him with a blade that looks far too dull for surgery. Her assistant steps in with a rusty saw for collateral. Anna enjoys the fear she thinks she's instilling. Patience runs out and she orders a finger taken as a down payment. The muscle-bound assistant raises his knife to strike. One whisper of her secret identity freezes the entire room instantly, turning the predator into the prey. Our boy relaxes into the restraints, knowing the power dynamic just flipped completely. The nun leans in close, curiosity warring with the urge to silence him. Before anyone can react, he offers a business deal that involves way more profit than a few severed fingers could ever provide. Greed wins out over anger, and she decides to hear what the slave has to say for himself. The door creaks open to reveal a bandaged figure stumbling into the room. Ned enters looking like he went 10 rounds with a meat grinder, but the moment the healers leave, the act drops. In that moment, he draws a blade with a speed that defies his injuries. The traitor's eyes burn with the humiliation of his earlier defeat, demanding blood to wash it away. He raises the weapon to erase the stain on his honor. Instead of striking, the broken man falls to his knees and begs for another chance at life. Ned pleads for his life with desperate intensity, offering absolute loyalty in exchange for mercy from the monster he couldn't beat. Zephyr looks down at the broken man and considers the value of a pawn. In a blink, he leans in, making it clear that betrayal will result in a fate significantly worse than death. The traitor presents a chaotic mana stone as proof of his sincerity. With steady composure, he stares up, waiting for the verdict. A dark smirk crosses the hero's face. Anna watches the exchange from the side, already calculating the potential profit of this new, dangerous alliance. Later, the two stand together in the shadows. The former enemy reveals his history as a disciple of a powerful martial artist to prove his worth. Immediately, he demonstrates the techniques to confirm suspicions. Anna shows off a massive monster corpse with pride. The hunter looks pleased with his handiwork. They haggle over the price like two predators discussing the spoils of war. The scene shifts to a local tavern. The team members eye the newcomer with a mix of curiosity and disdain over their drinks. Goda tries to act friendly despite the tension hanging in the room. Marco waves a hand near his massive hammer. Dale looks at the newcomer with open suspicion, clearly not trusting a slave with a weapon. Zephyr introduces himself simply, hiding his true power behind a calm and unassuming mask. The atmosphere is thick with doubt as the veterans judge the rookie. No hesitation at all. They drink together, establishing an uneasy truce before the mission begins in earnest. Goldie laughs too loud to cover the silence. The big guy seems worried about the newcomer's serious demeanor and lack of respect. Our boy slams a bottle of high-quality liquor on the table. On autopilot, he pours drinks for everyone, using bribery to smooth the friction and buy some temporary loyalty. Dale refuses to be bought so easily. In seconds, he glares at the rookie, sensing something dangerous beneath the surface. The leader scolds him for ruining the mood. The swordsman looks away, unconvinced but willing to follow orders. The team sets out, hiking up the mountain path toward the dungeon entrance in silence. In one move, they reach the entrance of the cave town carved into the cliff face. The interior is dark, silent. It's covered in thick white webs that scream danger. Zephyr activates his mana perception to scan the area for threats. He navigates the webs with ease, sensing every vibration in the threads. Dale panics as his hand gets stuck to a sticky trap. Hundreds of eyes open in the darkness above them, glowing with hunger and malice. A swarm of spiders descends from the ceiling like black rain. The rookie moves instantly, intercepting the attack before it lands. In no time, he pulls the swordsman to safety just as the swarm hits the ground where he stood. In a flash, he crushes a spider with his bare hand. Another one gets punched out of the air with lethal precision. Dale falls back, shocked by the impossible speed of the man he just mocked. The order to gather is shouted instantly. The veterans brace themselves as they realize they are completely surrounded. Giant armored legs step out of the shadows, shaking the ground. A massive black steel spider reveals its terrifying form to the intruders. Zephyr throws his cloak over Marco's hammer to prevent sticking. He takes command of the battlefield immediately. The team fights back, smashing through the sticky defenses. Monsters fly through the air on impact. Dale cuts through a spider, surprised by the tactic's effectiveness. Zephyr punches a spider, his fist glowing with blue mana. With dead calm, he smashes it into the ground with enough force to clear a path for the team. The group stands panting amidst the carnage, alive but shaken. Dale holds his wounded arm, the reality of the dungeon setting in. Our boy hands him a potion he brewed himself, offering a lifeline in the dark. The swordsman looks at the bottle hesitantly. A smile assures him it will keep him alive. Without thinking twice, they finish off the last of the guardians with brutal efficiency. The team looks at the slave with new respect, doubt gone. He stands atop the largest carcass like a king. Goat asks about his past, amazed by the knowledge displayed. Zephyr shoulders his massive scythe, ready to move deeper into the darkness. He recalls his past life of cowardice and determines to be different this time around. Dale asks if they can stay with him for the boss fight. The hero stares him down, telling them to leave for safety. Not even blinking, he explains that he plans to face the boss alone to avoid unnecessary casualties. The team enters the massive, web-covered chamber. He spots the heart of the dungeon pulsing in the distance. The queen spider descends from the shadows, a massive armored nightmare blocking the path. Zephyr stands his ground, looking tiny compared to the monster. On pure instinct, he holds a bag of flour as a weapon. He tosses the bag into the air with perfect timing. With a swing of his scythe, he bursts the bag open. The air fills with a fine white mist. Reflexes take over. He strikes his flint flint against steel to create a spark. The spark ignites the suspended particles instantly. Right after that, he dashes through the flames as a massive dust explosion rips through the entire chamber. Before anyone can react, he fires his crossbow while the beast is disoriented. The queen shrieks in agony as the bolts hit home. Poisoned arrows begin to take effect immediately. The monster thrashes, he trying to crush the intruder with its legs. Zephyr dodges the giant limbs with practiced ease and grace. He slides under a strike, looking for an opening to exploit. The spider lunges with snapping jaws. No time to waste, he slides under, aiming for the soft underbelly. He grabs a protruding spine to pull himself up. In one clean decision, he climbs onto the monster's back like a rodeo rider. In a snap, he finds a crack in the armor created by the explosion and prepares to strike. Stone calm, he drives his blade into the weak point. The spider writhes, trying to shake him off its back. It crashes into the walls, collapsing part of the tunnel in a cloud of dust. Zephyr jumps clear just before impact. The queen emerges from the rubble, enraged and bleeding. It charges forward, ignoring the pain to kill its tormentor. Sigota and the team suddenly return, charging into the fray. The spider spits a stream of deadly acid that melts the stone where it lands. In the blink of an eye, he dodges the spray with seconds to spare. No pause, he leaps from a high ledge to get the advantage, defying gravity for a moment. The monster tries to impale him mid-air. Like it was Tuesday, he smashes the limb aside with raw, amplified strength. Before anyone can react, he lands a heavy blow right on its armored head. The impact sends the massive creature crashing to the ground. In the mess, he shouts orders to the returning team, coordinating the attack like a veteran general. Zephyr spins through the air, creating a whirlwind of strikes that pushes the beast back. Without a pause, he delivers a vertical slash of pure blue mana. In the middle of the chaos, he lands gracefully, weapon ready for the next move. The spider shrieks, pinned by the assault. The team attacks the legs while Zephyr holds its attention. The monster roars, green eyes glowing with fury as it tries to rise again. Zephyr taunts the beast, drawing all its aggression to himself. He prepares to tank the boss alone if he has to. The spider brings all its legs down in a crushing stomp that shakes the room. Zephyr blocks the attack, muscles straining under the immense weight. Dale watches in awe, inspired by the display of strength. He raises his sword, overcoming his fear. The team rallies, attacking the immobilized monster with everything they have left in the tank. Dale coats his blade in the tranquilizer Zephyr gave him. In a blink, he strikes at the nerve cluster in the leg with precision. Sir Marco smashes another leg with his heavy hammer. Dale cuts deep, severing the limb's control completely. Zephyr continues to parry the massive fangs. Muscle memory kicks in. He creates an opening with a powerful uppercut. With icy calm, he slides in close, scythe ready to harvest. His eyes glow as he spots the kill shot and takes it without hesitation. The spider screams one last time. Zephyr brings the scythe down on its exposed neck. The blade cuts through chitin and flesh like butter. Dale watches the hero work with stunned admiration, realizing the gap between them. Zephyr dodges a desperate final stab from the dying beast and counters instantly. He slams the monster's head into the ground with finality. Using his gun, he blasts the wound open further to reach the vital point. In the mayhem, he drives the weapon deep into the brain. Without even blinking, he lifts the massive head with his blade to confirm the kill for everyone. The spider collapses, finally dead, its massive bulk shaking the ground one last time. Its maw gapes open in silence. Zephyr stands panting, covered in dust and motherfucking monster blood, victorious against the odds. The massive corpse lies still at last. In a snap, he reaches into the carcass to harvest the spoils. Then and there, he rips out the venom gland with his bare hands, ignoring the mess. That fast, he slices it open with surgical precision to extract the prize. For a tiny moment, he collects the rare fluid in a glass vial. He fights off smaller scavengers trying to steal. He dashes toward the fleeing birds. In one clean step, he uses his whip to snag a loot bag from a bird mid-flight. No time wasted. And he leaps onto the back of a giant bird monster. In seconds, he rides it into the air, controlling it with strength. Reflexes take over. He brings his scythe down and crashes the beast to the earth with a swift kick. The battle is truly over now. Silence returning to the cave. The team cheers, celebrating their impossible victory in the gloom. Zephyr looks back with a rare, genuine smile. In the mess, he shoulders his weapon, the undisputed hero of the day. Later, Dale realizes just how far behind he truly is compared to the slave. The team rests, exhausted but happy to be alive after the impossible fight. Zephyr drinks water, washing away the taste of battle. In a vision, he sees the demon god Tartarus looming. Without even blinking, he prepares a special brew, using the venom he harvested. Back at the temple, he meets Anna. In the next beat, he hands over a heavy bag of loot to settle accounts. Anna is visibly impressed by the size of the haul. In the chaos, she calculates his cut with a greedy smile. Like a cheap jump scare, she hands him a new uniform for his next job. Zephyr reviews the list of items he needs. Stone calm, he plans to use the temple's lab after hours. Anna smiles, happy with her profitable new partner. Zephyr looks sharp in his new clean clothes, hiding the warrior beneath. Anna watches him go, plotting her own moves for the future. Outside, he runs into Ned, who is now fully disguised. Ned reveals his face, eyes glowing with determination to prove himself to his new master. Zephyr recognizes the look of a man on a mission. Sister Anna joins them, playing the innocent nun perfectly. For one breath, so she politely declines Ned's attempt to engage her in conversation. Ned smiles, but the tension is palpable. The three of them stand together, a dangerous trio plotting under the noses of the holy. Energy crackles between Zephyr and Ned as they test each other. Anna steps between them, unleashing a burst of holy light. Her power forces them both to back down immediately. Ned and Zephyr slump under the pressure, reminded of who holds the purse strings. Anna slaps Zephyr for being reckless in her territory. Straight away, she drags him away by his collar like a scolded child. Ned watches them leave, rubbing his neck thoughtfully. Anna threatens to kill Zephyr herself if he dies unpaid. Before anyone blinks, she touches his cheek, checking for injuries with surprising gentleness. Her concern is genuine, beneath the layers of greed. Zephyr smirks, unbothered by her rough treatment of him. Right away, he explains that Ned's attack was just a test. Ned walks away to report to his master, setting the next phase in motion. Before anyone blinks, he meets with the blue-haired master in a secret location. Ned reveals his scarred face to his superior. In the chaos, he holds a red ocarina, a tool for monsters. The master orders him to summon a horde to attack. Zephyr begins his dangerous work in the lab. Out of nowhere, he prepares poisoned needles with meticulous care. Without a thought, he pours the green liquid into a dish for coating. Instinctively, he pierces his own body with the needles to boost his stats beyond their limits. In a blink, he endures the agony as the poison enters. He coughs up blood but refuses to stop the process, driven by pure will. His body glows as he forces his stats to evolve through the pain. The monoflow technique circulates the energy. His veins bulge, turning black from the strain. A burst of energy clears the toxins from his system. His skin returns to normal, but stronger. At that exact moment, he prepares the final needle for his head, the most dangerous step of all. Anna watches in horror as he pierces his own brain. A massive flare signals the start of the attack. Giant birds descend on the temple guards like a plague from the sky. A guard is crushed by a massive beak before he can even scream. Zephyr lands in the middle of the chaos, fully powered up. His eyes glow blue with overflow mana, ready to kill. A bird snaps at him, expecting a meal. On raw instinct, he catches the beast by the neck mid-strike. Before anyone can react, he spins it around like a rag doll. Right after that, he rips the motherfucking monster apart with bare hands in a shower of blood. Before anyone reacts, he punches another bird, exploding its head on impact. Without delay, he moves through the horde like a storm. A guard watches in disbelief as the slave saves them. Zephyr stands shirtless, radiating power and violence. A massive explosion rocks the courtyard. A guard cowers in fear as the battle rages around him. More monsters crash into the ground, dead before they even hit the stones. Zephyr drags the carcass of the boss bird behind him. He stands tall, clearing the wave single-handedly. His body steams with heat from the exertion. Behind him, Ned watches from the shadows, satisfied with the chaos he unleashed. The Inquisitor Matthias Grimmer arrives on the scene to investigate the disturbance. The commander of the Knights, Lucius, steps forward to take charge. Lucius opens the massive gate to the raid dungeon. A dark figure stands waiting in inside the gloom. It is a statue of an angel holding legendary gear. Ned stares at the items he has sought for years, greed burning in his eyes. Lucius smiles confidently, unaware of the betrayal to come. The raid team prepares to enter the danger zone, not knowing what awaits them. Zephyr drinks a potion, getting ready for the next phase. In the scramble, he slides a golden ring onto his finger. With no sign, he looks at the ring of purification, knowing it changes everything. On autopilot, he smirks, knowing the real game is about to begin, and he holds all the cards. A cold shiver runs down Anna's spine. The name Persephone is whispered in the darkest corners of the underworld for a very good reason. Her fear instantly turns into pure greed. A twisted smile forms as she plans to keep this golden goose on a very short leash. Zephyr heads back without looking behind him. Fear and respect war in the tired eyes of laborers. A dagger is buried deep in his door, pinning a crumpled note against the wood. The deployment order has terrible timing. Before anyone can react, he recognizes the messy handwriting instantly. A knowing smirk touches his face as he realizes the fish has finally taken the bait. Leaving the others behind, the warrior heads out into the night alone. With a cold calm, he moves through the dense forest like a literal ghost, leaving the ancient temple far behind in the suffocating darkness. The surrounding trees blur into nothing until he reaches a rocky clearing where a lone figure waits in the gloom. The man turns around to reveal the scarred and stitched face of Sahak. Dropping the act immediately, the slave greets him casually because he knows exactly who is under the mask. The spy wants blood and revenge. A blade clears its sheath with a lethal hum, mana lighting up the clearing like a neon sign in the dark. The spy closes the gap in a heartbeat, but a simple sidestep sends the attacker face-planting into the dirt. A dry chuckle escapes him while watching the man struggle to get back on his feet. Realizing the disguise is a total failure, Ned decides it is time to change tactics. The ground behind the spy suddenly erupts in a violent shower of dirt and stone as something massive begins to surface. A nightmare of flesh and eyes drags itself into reality, blocking out the moonlight with its massive, pulsating form. Flares of mana erupt as the fighter remains completely unfazed by the abomination. The Shoggoth roars for fresh meat. Ned raises a small ocarina to his lips, which serves as the key to controlling the beast. One beat later, he recognizes the biological weapon of the demon cult instantly and knows the exact method required to put it down forever. These monsters sleep as eggs until a specific frequency wakes them up in a state of pure hunger. Black sludge spreads across the rocks. A tidal wave of teeth aims for his head, and dozens of tentacles instantly wrap around his body to crush the life out of his lungs. The ring of purification flares on his finger, burning with a blinding holy light. Golden holy energy burns away the creeping corruption before it can even begin to take root in his mind. A flex of raw power shatters the hold. Screaming blue lightning crackles around his right hand with intense pressure until his fist shines like a dying star in the middle of the dark forest. In no time, he drives the strike into the center of the mass with the force of a heavy cannon. Shockwaves ripple through the rocky clearing as he unleashes a flurry of devastating blows that shake the earth. The lightning palm technique begins tearing the shadow apart, piece by piece. Ancient flesh burns and dissolves under the weight of an assault that refuses to give the monster any room to breathe. The monster collapses into a puddle of harmless gore, utterly defeated by the display of power. Standing over the remains, he doesn't even look out of breath after dealing with the high-level biological threat. Just out of nowhere, he pulls out a red ocarina. A sharp tune cuts the air, triggering the hidden annihilation code buried deep within the beast. The last of the motherfucking monster dissolves. He shifts into a combat stance that should be impossible for a mere slave to know. On raw instinct, he walks toward the stunned spy with confidence. Ned stares in shock, his mind reeling from the impossible display of power he just witnessed. Zephyr drops the bomb by revealing he knows exactly who Ned serves. A panicked blade lashes out through the air in a desperate attempt to regain control of the situation, only to be caught by a bare hand that stops the momentum dead. The recognition in the spy's eyes is immediate and absolutely terrifying as the truth of the situation finally sinks in. The warrior flows through the forms of the Dragon King style with perfect fluidity. Lightning wraps around his entire body as he demonstrates a level of mastery that only a true legend could achieve. Two disciples face off, but the gap in their skill is wider than an entire ocean. The name of the legendary Jinryang of the East is a name feared by almost everyone. He explains the rule of two, revealing that only 2 disciples are ever allowed to learn the true secrets of the style. He claims the title of Shadow Disciple. The words cut deep, forcing the man to realize his master never actually trusted him. Extending a hand to the broken man, he offers a way out of the service of those who would only use him. Where in a single beat he warns that loose ends get tied up. Ned listens quietly while his world crumbles around him. With every single word the warrior speaks, a cold smile plays on his lips as he sees the doubt taking root. He brings up the dragon heart, then he whispers 2 words that cause the air in the clearing to freeze in an instant. Before anyone can react, he whispers 2 words: blood tears. The family sword is currently sitting in Cardinal Olden's private vault right now. On autopilot, he asks the one question that shatters the spy's loyalty completely and forever. The realization hits the man like a physical blow to the gut as he connects the dots of the betrayal. A second later, he turns away as nausea rises, the weight of years of service to his father's murderer finally sinking in deep. The knuckles crack as the man clenches his fist in a fit of pure, unadulterated rage. Reflexes take over. He hammers the point home that the boy is nothing but disposable trash to them. Nails dig into skin until they draw blood. He offers a temporary truce for now. Looking up with a new fire burning in his eyes, the man's heart is now fueled entirely by hatred and revenge. A handshake in the dark seals an alliance born from shared hatred and a mutual goal. Back at the temple, slaves bow. For a brief second, he walks among them like a king in rags, commanding absolute respect without saying a single word. A messenger finally delivers the summons he has been waiting for since this entire plan began. Tension is thick in the barracks as the team prepares for what is coming. Before the mission starts, so he visits Anna's shop to secure some necessary upgrades for the road ahead. High-quality steel gleams in the candlelight. He checks the balance of a mace, ignoring the exorbitant price tag attached to the weapon. Blunt force is the only real answer for the skeletons they are about to face. In a heartbeat, he checks a sword for imperfections. Satisfied with the craftsmanship, he tests the weight and listens as the cold steel sings. Strapping on the armor transforms the slave into a warrior who is finally ready for the upcoming war. A bag of rare poison hits the counter. Anna grabs the bag with a greedy look, practically drooling at the value of the payment he just provided. Armed and dangerous, the warrior steps out to face whatever horrors the dungeon has in store. The nun counts her coin with a smile. Dawn breaks over the temple courtyard. Commander Lucius stands before the army. Glowing in his white and gold armor, the commander looks every bit like the hero the world believes him to be. Priests weave holy blessings over the kneeling soldiers to prepare them for the horrors awaiting them in the dark. Lucius promises glory to the faithful. The long march begins toward the summit of Screams, a place known only for death and absolute despair. Moving like a spider, he scales the vertical cliff while the other soldiers struggle to keep up. In the arena, slaves are thrown against stone golems to test if they are worth the effort of deployment. Like it was Tuesday, he shatters a massive construct with a single casual strike before dusting his hands off. He spars with his new ally. Their movements blur faster than any of the onlookers can follow, shocking everyone watching the display. Defying gravity for a split second, the warrior launches himself high into the sky. In a blink, he descends like a meteor. Dust clouds the arena as he lands, looking calm and collected amidst the destruction he caused. Lucius calls an end to the training. Sitting alone on the battlements, the ally stares into the distance with haunted eyes. Joining him in the silence, the warrior offers a quiet presence against the encroaching cold. He passes a flask of liquid warmth to help take the edge off the chill of the night air. With chilling calm, he warns that running with the heart is a death sentence. Dropping the truth about Olden's connection to Tartarus shatters the man's world for the second time. The memory of his father's sword, a symbol of honor and legacy, returns to haunt his thoughts. The legacy of the Stryer family was lost in blood and betrayal long ago. The memory of his father's murder plays out in his mind like a twisted play he can't stop watching. Olden stands over the corpse with the stolen sword in hand, mocking the fallen man. Cool as ice, he screams into the wind as the pain of the past tears him apart once again. The Cardinal's laughter echoes in his mind. Calm as ever, he spent years serving the very man who killed his father, which is a cruel and sick joke. The master he once worshipped was just another monster wearing human skin. The realization that the dragon heart was never meant for the order, but for selfish gain, finally breaks his spirit. Before anyone can react, he swears to bathe his blade in the blood of the cardinal. The ground beneath the raid party begins to churn violently as the legions of the dead start to rise. Taking command of the chaos without a hint of hesitation, the warrior begins barking orders to the survivors. Lucius signals the charge toward the gates. The temple of the fallen princess rises from the mist, looking ominous and foreboding. Bishop Alfonso puts on a welcoming smile that doesn't reach his eyes, hiding his true intentions from the group. Cardinal Olden arrives draped in holy robes, looking pious and pure to anyone who doesn't know the truth. But the shadow in his eyes betrays his true allegiance to the forces of darkness. A skeletal warrior screeches a challenge. Steel meets bone as the two armies collide in a brutal clash of wills that stains the ground red. A mountain of ancient bones shifts and stands up, forming a massive golem that towers over the battlefield. Grabbing the chains binding the giant, he strains his muscles against the cold metal. Before anyone reacts, he pulls against the heavy iron with everything he has, his veins popping from the sheer physical effort. The links snap under the pressure. No time wasted, he carves a path through the undead horde, acting as an unstoppable and ruthless force of nature. Matthias watches the slave with suspicion. A mage raises its staff to summon more. In one smooth motion, he crashes into the mage before the spell can complete, shattering bone and spirit with a single blow. Lucius obliterates an entire squad of skeletons with holy light, cleansing the immediate area of their presence. In all the chaos, he smashes the tombstone anchoring the necromancy, finally putting an end to the immediate threat of the undead. Leona observes the commander with awe. Standing victorious amidst the dust, the commander looks like a beacon of hope in the middle of the dark. Moving deeper into the shadows, the warrior slips away while everyone else is distracted by the victory. With no time to breathe, he navigates the dark corridors of the dungeon with the practiced ease of someone who has been here before. The leadership gathers around a map of the tomb to plan their next move into the heart of the darkness. Sensing the danger in the air, the captain looks worried about the current plan. Lucius explains his strategy to preserve their strength for what he knows is the final battle ahead. A skeleton pulls itself from the stone wall. An armored giant swings a massive axe that cleaves through the air with enough force to kill instantly. Suddenly, he finds the hidden mechanism and turns the heavy wheel with a grunt of effort. The entire dungeon groans as the ancient walls begin to move and shift around them. Panic ripples through the raid party as the ground shakes and the path behind them is fucking cut off. In all the chaos, he eyes the stake of faith. Ned waits in the shadows. Priests clutch their heads as the madness of the tomb takes hold of their minds. Without even blinking, they turn on their comrades as their eyes glow red with a sudden and uncontrollable bloodlust. No hesitation. He raises the ocarina to his lips. Walls burst open, and Shoggoths pour into the room like a flood of black sludge and teeth. In the mayhem, he sprints through the melee, dodging attacks from all sides with the grace of a dancer. He ducks under a swinging mace. For a brief second, he finds his ally frozen in the middle of the chaos, staring at the carnage with a look of disbelief. Lucius charges the nearest beast head-on. His shield absorbs a blow that would have crushed a tank, sending sparks flying into the air. The warrior streaks past like a blur. In the blink of an eye, he deflects a strike meant for his ally's head, saving the man's life in the nick of time. His blade whips out like a snake. Shaking off the shock, the ally joins the fray and begins fighting for his survival against the swarm. Lucius unleashes a blast that blinds the entire room with a wave of pure, holy light. Without even blinking, he rides the shockwave backward, flipping through the air with ease. In the noise, he twists mid-air like a cat, spotting his landing point amidst the shifting floor and falling debris. His boots hit stone, and he is moving again instantly, never allowing himself to stop for a second. The strong luck skill activates, bending the laws of probability around him like an invisible physical shield. Debris misses his head by millimeters, crashing harmlessly into the stone around him as he continues his run. In an instant, he dances through a rain of rocks. Trusting him completely now, the ally stays glued to his shadow to avoid the falling ceiling. In the mess, he shuts down any complaints, forcing his partner to focus on the mission at hand. Desperate and afraid of what is coming next, the man tries to argue back, Without thinking twice, he tells him to sit down and listen with a voice as hard as stone. Looking skeptical but realizing he has no other choice, the man finally settles down to hear the plan. Fear clouds his judgment as he considers running away with the prize. The heart kills any unworthy person. With a cold calm, he reveals that the cardinal is already waiting at the finish line to take everything from them. The twin knights will run him down without mercy if he tries to flee with the artifact in hand. Another rumble shakes the stone floor. The man finally accepts that there is no easy way out of this living nightmare. They sprint down a corridor that wasn't there a minute ago, chasing their only remaining hope of survival. Battles rage in the far distance. With a scream of rage, the man cuts down a cultist, blocking their path. They fight back to back against the swarm as a whirlwind of steel that refuses to be broken. Before anyone blinks, he vaults over a massive attack. A sudden spell creates a new path forward through the solid stone. They dive through the small opening. Silence falls in the vast chamber. A massive pillar rises in the center of the room, looking ancient and imposing to the intruders. This is the threshold of the boss room, marking the end of the line for their journey. Eurydice materializes in the cold air. The main raid party arrives behind them, looking battered but still ready for the final fight. Matthias points out the threat. A shadow rises behind the Inquisitor, unnoticed by the others who are focused on the princess. Lucius steps forward as his holy energy begins warring with the intense gloom of the tomb. The ghost princess looks down with infinite sadness reflecting in her dead, glowing eyes. He yanks his ally aside just as the floor beneath them begins to glow a deep red. A magic circle erupts where he just stood, sizzling with dark and malevolent energy. Eurydice screams, shaking the foundations. A maw of darkness opens in the floor, prepared to swallow everyone whole. Readying their weapons for the final stand, the two warriors face the abyss together as allies. Red tentacles shoot from the dark. The dark hand skill intercepts the attack, matching shadow with shadow in a display of equal power. Eurydice hovers above the battlefield. A hidden traitor finally smiles. Spotting the Inquisitor's expression, the warrior knows for certain the game is rigged against them all. Sweating profusely, the traitor waits for the signal to end the lives of everyone in the room. Pure instinct, he gives the nod to his sleeper agents, was sealing the fate of the soldiers around him. Priests begin a dark chant as their eyes roll back into their heads in a trance. A glass vial shatters on stone. The slaves down the liquid antidote immediately before the dark spell can take hold of their bodies. The traitor's grin falters as he realizes something has gone horribly wrong with his plan. The ground cracks open, swallowing men. Chaos erupts as the floor gives way, sending men screaming into the darkness of the pit below. A giant centipede bursts from a corpse with mandibles clicking hungrily for its next meal. The monster crushes insects underfoot. Eurydice screams in rage as her power begins to flare out of control. Facing the darkness alone, the commander stands as a solitary light against the overwhelming void. In the scramble, he struggles against the power. Are his boots sliding backward on the slick stone floor? His holy attacks bounce off the barrier, proving useless against the might of the fallen princess. Even the mighty commander looks small. In seconds, he coughs up blood, having been pushed to his absolute limit and far beyond it. Our boy stares straight into the yawning abyss, fully aware that this is the exact moment where his fate changes forever. Matthias lets out a wicked grin as the mask of a loyal servant finally cracks to reveal the literal monster hiding beneath his skin. The traitor laughs in the face of his former commander, mocking every ideal they once fought for. Demonic energy erupts from his body, shredding his holy robes into nothing but useless rags. A red silhouette screams in absolute agony, while the dark transformation begins to warp his physical form into something nightmarish. Dark chains whip around the room, signaling the birth of an inhuman creature. The traitor fully sheds the last of his humanity, standing tall as a towering demon complete with massive horns and jagged wings. Lucius stares in pure horror, unable to comprehend the absolute betrayal unfolding directly in front of his eyes. A desperate priest casts a blessing to shield the troops from this overwhelming evil aura, but the demon moves much faster than prayer as a massive claw swipes the air. Holy light clashes with dark mana, triggering a blinding explosion that rocks the entire chamber. The commander blocks the strike with his shield, sparks flying as he skids backward across the stone. The demon bears down on him. Soldiers watch in terror while their legendary leader is slowly overpowered by this massive horned abomination from the pits of hell. Captain Leona suddenly realizes their legendary gear is completely useless against a threat of this magnitude. The captain checks her inventory in a panic, desperate for any kind of solution that could save her dying squad. Her heart sinks when she sees the case is empty and the stake of faith is gone. Our boy stands in the distance with the stolen artifact, a smug smirk plastered across his face. Zephyr tosses the heavy case aside like trash, since his master plan is already in motion. Ned readies his blade for battle. The silver-haired warrior confronts the Ghost Princess while absolute chaos reigns in the background. Eurydice unleashes a storm of thorns. The intruder dodges with preternatural reflexes, sliding between the deadly red spikes with ease. Then it happens. He moves like water, flowing around lethal attacks that should have ended his life instantly. His sword glows with a brilliant golden light as he prepares to deliver a crushing counterattack. Before anyone processes it, he slashes through the thorns. The princess roars in fury, her spectral form twisting into a nightmare of teeth and raw rage. Burr the warrior charges headlong into the magical storm, appearing completely fearless and focused on his target. He brings his glowing blade down on the monster's defenses, looking to crack her shell before she can recover her mana. Ned flies in from the flank, adding his incredible speed to the assault to keep the boss from focusing on a single target. The stake of faith finally activates, causing a massive cross made of pure light to manifest in the darkened sky above. It plunges down with holy force. Holy fire burns through the corruption, searing the lingering darkness away from the Ghost Princess. The monster shrieks in pain. The MC watches coldly, waiting for the perfect opening he worked so hard to create. On reflex, he swings his blade with everything he has, carrying the momentum of the falling light into the strike. The holy stake suddenly deactivates. It dissolves into a heavy black anchor after its job is finished, leaving the room in a state of eerie silence. Our boy pants for breath as the divine enchantment slowly fades from his primary weapon. No pause. He chugs a mana potion to refill his tank before the next round of this madness begins. Ned looks over with concern. The warrior draws his second blade, refusing to stop until the job is officially done. Dark smoke pours from the boss, signaling that she has finally entered her second phase. The Ghost Princess reforms her shattered body, her anger feeling thick enough to choke anyone standing in the room. She gathers a massive amount of mana for what looks like a devastating counterattack. A wave of concentrated red energy explodes outward in every direction. The warrior deflects the blast. In the blink of an eye, he engages the boss in a high-speed duel, his movements blurring as steel meets spectral energy. He recognizes her spatial distortion skill. The fighter dodges attacks that literally warp the air around him, proving he's been in this situation many times before. His fist glows with blue lightning as he punches directly through the distortion to reach the boss's real physical form. With chilling calm, he strikes the core of the spell, shattering the illusion like glass and leaving the Ghost Princess completely wide open. Eurydice freezes in place, her powerful magic disrupted by that one precise and heavy hit. The MC capitalizes instantly. Ned follows up with a heavy strike that appears to cut through the air itself. The boss staggers backward. I'm feeling completely overwhelmed by the precision of their coordinated assault. The warrior uses Dark Hand to grab the intangible spirit, refusing to let her escape his reach this time. For a split second, he slams her into the stone ground with an incredible amount of telekinetic force. Lightning strikes rain down on her. Mana explodes around his body, pushing his physical limits to the breaking point just to maintain the advantage. In the middle of it all, he lands a heavy punch right into the center of her spectral mass, but she isn't finished yet. The warrior falls back, his mana drained and his body screaming in protest from the strain. Eurydice rises from the crater, her power still feeling terrifyingly vast despite the beating she just took. For one breath, he checks his status window. An angel appears in his vision. Without a pause, she mocks him, asking what he plans to do now that he's backed into a corner. The silver-haired fighter ignores the divine spectator, keeping his eyes glued to the monster in front of him for survival. He stares down the angel. He reminds the divine being that she is the one who sent him back to this mess. Before anyone blinks, he demands payment for his work. The angel looks offended by his tone, but she seems intrigued by his sheer audacity. Before anyone processes it, she warns that many of the other gods want him dead for showing this much insolence toward the heavens. The warrior laughs, telling the gods to come and get him if they actually have the guts. With icy calm, he activates a hidden perk, gambling his entire life on a massive bluff against the divine. By reflex, but he challenges the gods to interfere interfere if they aren't too cowardly to face him. A fucking massive pillar of light descends from the heavens in direct response to his loud and arrogant taunt. Reflexes take over. He stands tall amidst the energy. The god of debt and god of the sky watch the scene from above with curious expressions. The god of death extends a skeletal hand, offering the mortal a deal he can't refuse. A beam of light hits his chest, granting him a temporary boon that restores his failing strength. The MC smirks. Power surges through his veins. The goddess of light bestows a legendary sword upon him to finish the battle. Zephyr grips the sword of light, feeling the weapon humming with a level of power he has never experienced before. Right away, he charges back into the fray, now fully armed with the literal gifts of the gods. For a tiny moment, he slashes with the holy blade, sending a beam of pure light cutting through the darkness of the dungeon floor. The ghost princess shrieks in agony. Her monstrous form begins to crack. The madness finally leaves her eyes, replaced by a sense of clarity she hasn't felt in centuries. Eurydice returns to her human form, looking like a tragic figure in a torn white dress. In one clean decision, she looks up at her savior with tears of blood streaming down her face as her curse finally begins to lift. The warrior stands over her. He introduces himself as the one who will carry her legacy and finish her unfinished work. Eurydice reveals the dragon heart she has been guarding for over a millennium in this dark place. It glows with golden light. She tells the tragic story of her fallen lover, the legendary knight Georgios, who died long ago. Immediately, she kept herself alive through sheer willpower just to protect this treasure from falling into the wrong hands. Right away, she asks the silver-haired warrior to take the heart and use it to save the world. The fighter explains that he needs her help to absorb the heart's power without dying. Eurydice agrees to perform the ancient transplant ritual to pass on the dragon's essence, and then he steps forward, ready to accept the heavy burden of a dragon's legacy. In a heartbeat, he offers his hand, officially accepting the destiny of a hero in this new life. The ritual begins as immense power starts flowing between the two of them. Our boy screams as raw dragon mana floods his system, feeling like liquid fire in his veins. His body threatens to tear apart under the extreme strain of the divine transformation. Eurydice coughs up blood, her life force fading fast as she gives the last of her energy to the young warrior. In no time, she promises to make the world safe, fulfilling her ancient vow to protect the innocent from the coming darkness. Calm as ever, she touches his chest one last time, sealing the dragon's power deep inside his soul. The light fades from the room, leaving the MC panting on the floor but very much alive and stronger than ever. The dragon heart now hangs around his neck as a permanent part of his body. Power radiates from his skin, looking unstable but feeling absolutely immense compared to before. The survivor stands up, his entire presence transformed by the weight of the ancient treasure he now carries. His eyes glow with the golden energy of the dragon as he adjusts to his new strength. In one smooth motion, he confronts the mental projection of the red dragon living within the depths of his own mind. A massive dragon looms over him. Zephyr punches the beast in the face without a single hint of hesitation or fear. He fights for dominance. He slams the creature down. He smashes the dragon's head into the floor of his inner world, forcing the beast to acknowledge his superior will. With chilling calm, he summons a mental image of the angel to help protect his sanity from being swallowed by the dragon's rage. Our boy wins the mental battle, forcing the dragon's soul to submit and obey his commands like a common dog. Back in reality, Eurydice collapses. The very next moment, she smiles one last time before her body begins dissolving into particles of pure white light and drifting away. The warrior watches her fade, silently honoring the massive sacrifice she made to give him this chance. Only her dress and a few relics remain on the cold stone floor of the boss room. Lucius and the other soldiers lie unconscious nearby, looking completely exhausted from the previous struggle. The MC decides it's time to leave before they wake up and start asking difficult questions. In the scramble, he picks up the relics. A massive blue dragon spirit suddenly appears from the items, looking none too happy about the intruder's presence. It challenges him as the final guardian of the treasure, testing his worthiness to lead the world's remaining forces. The fighter draws draws his sword. In the mess, he deflects the spirit's lightning breath with his blade, the sparks illuminating the dark corners of the massive chamber. Not long after, he slices through the magical projection with a single clean stroke, proving his new power is the real deal. While everything hits the fan, he enters the treasure chamber, seeing the massive doors finally creak open to reveal the riches hidden within. Mountains of gold await him. The MC grins. Without missing a beat, he finds the raid party arguing outside the boss room, looking like they've seen better days after the recent fight. Leona is visibly exhausted, barely holding her fractured team together as they look for an exit. They quickly realize the gatekeeper is still alive and blocking the only way out of the dungeon. A skeleton warrior smashes through. The survivors panic, feeling trapped with absolutely no way to escape the motherfucking monster's massive iron blade. Our boy bursts through. In a snap, he arrives just in time to save them from a certain slaughter at the hands of the undead. Before anyone blinks, he commands the monster to kneel. The ancient language of dragons forces the skeleton to obey his command without any resistance at all. The skeleton crashes to the floor, immobilized by the weight of the MC's voice as the soldiers watch in awe. Leona stares in disbelief. The warrior crushes the monster's weapon with his bare hand, showing off the terrifying strength of his new body. In a split second, he swings the broken blade. In no time, he stands victorious. The narrator confirms that the previous limitations on the Sword of Light have finally been lifted for good. In that moment, he punches through the air. Leona bows to him, mistaking the silver-haired warrior for a divine messenger sent from the heavens. He heals Ned's injuries with a simple touch, the golden mana knitting flesh and bone back together. The wounded ally is stunned by the miraculous recovery, feeling better than he has in years. Ned asks if they're free. The warrior confirms their debts are paid in full, but his expression remains serious as he looks toward the surface. While everything goes sideways, he warns that the real battle for the world is only just beginning. No pause. He explains that Tartarus worshippers have already infiltrated the highest levels of the church and the government. With quiet control, he reveals that Cardinal Olden is the traitor responsible for the mess they're currently in. For a split second, he leads them to the vault. The room is filled with crystals containing legendary items that have been lost to history for centuries. The MC breaks a crystal, handing high-tier loot to his allies so they can actually survive what's coming next. Like it was Tuesday, he distributes powerful gear to Ned and Leona, ensuring the core of his new team is properly equipped for war. Ned dons the Dragon Slayer set, looking formidable in the black and red plated armor. Before anyone reacts, they are finally ready to fight. In a split second, he explains Olden's family history. Without even blinking, he warns that arresting a cardinal is incredibly risky without hard proof to back up their claims. With no sign, he reveals a glowing vial. The warrior smiles, claiming he has a way to expose the truth and bring the corrupt church down. The scene shifts to the surface. Olden plays with a baby, acting like a benevolent grandfather to maintain his public image as a holy man. The baby cries loudly, seemingly sensing the cold evil radiating from the man holding it. A marked bug crawls out of the cardinal's sleeve, remaining completely unseen by the baby's unsuspecting mother. A messenger bursts in with news. Lucius has returned alive, which completely ruins the cardinal's plan to take over the military. Olden's face twists into a mask of pure rage as his carefully crafted facade finally begins to crumble. The floor of the temple explodes. Zephyr, Ned, and Leona emerge from the depths like vengeful ghosts back from the dead. Lucius stands with them, his sword drawn and his eyes burning with a furious desire for justice. Olden shouts out, accusing the commander of attacking the Holy Church in a desperate attempt to flip the script. Lucius declares he is officially arresting the cardinal for the high crime of heresy. Olden smirks, dropping the act completely since there's no point in bullshitting to the people who already know the truth. That fast, he summons his twin knights to defend him from the approaching squad. He claims there is no proof. Lucius throws a stack of letters at the villain's feet, proving he has everything he needs. The letters detail the entire conspiracy. Olden laughs, realizing he's been outplayed by a group of people he considered to be beneath him. Straight away, he admits his allegiance to Tartarus openly, his voice echoing through the desecrated halls of the temple. In no time, he grabs the baby's mother, holding a sharp knife to her throat to stop anyone from moving closer. No warning at all, he threatens the innocent hostage. He holds a parasitic worm near her face, threatening to infect her with a curse that would be worse than death. Out of nowhere, a blade bursts through. Ned stands behind him, having moved much faster than the human eye could possibly follow. The MC catches the baby. An explosion rocks the room as the Cardinal's body erupts with dark energy in a final act of spite. The warrior shields the hostages. Ned saves the woman, pulling her to safety before the dark flames can touch her skin. The twin knights rush in, but the Golden Knight stops in his tracks, staring at the silver-haired warrior with a look of confusion. In an instant, he asks what the boy is doing here in the middle of a church raid. The MC smiles, not asking why the knight isn't with his brother where he belongs, as the tension in the room reaches a peak. A golden figure descends from the sky with pure arrogance. This blonde narcissist is Castor Hugo, the eldest son of an earl and a loyal servant currently doing the dirty work for Marquis Lasker. Commander Lucius steps forward as lightning crackles around his holy armor to meet the incoming threat head-on. In the distance, thick black smoke begins to rise from the main temple building as the situation worsens. Nearby miners and laborers watch in complete confusion as chaos suddenly erupts right above their heads without warning. Inside the holy grounds, the commander finds himself surrounded by a horde of possessed priests who have lost their minds. Chains of light lash out to bind the attackers because he knows harming them would be political suicide. The massive temple spire finally gives out, crashing down into the courtyard with a deafening roar that shakes the very earth. Sparks fly as the commander blocks a heavy strike, pitting holy energy against golden steel in a desperate struggle. Frustration builds as he grits his teeth, realizing this stalemate is going absolutely nowhere fast for his side. The Golden Knight swings a massive blade. Meanwhile, the commander barely deflects the blow as the impact vibrates through his very bones. He has to rely on his ancient mirror chainmail to reflect some of that crushing damage back at his arrogant, dumbass opponent. Castor unleashes a blinding flurry of stabs that move way too fast for the naked eye to track. The commander dances through this storm of steel while desperately looking for a single opening to turn the tide. A heavy smash sends the Golden Knight reeling. Like a jump scare, a massive pillar of divine judgment crashes down from the heavens like a hammer from the gods themselves. Smoke rises from the crater where the blonde goon lies defeated, his expensive golden armor scorched completely black. The commander lands softly on his feet before immediately checking to see if the nuns are safe from the surrounding carnage, and just like that, he warns them to stay back. Internal damage from that damage-reflecting armor finally takes its toll as the commander coughs up a handful of dark blood. The Golden Knight stands back up with a face twisted in pure fury as his scorched skin continues to burn. Elsewhere, Olden screams for his bodyguard. Panic sets in as the villain tries to summon help with a magical message, but his hands are fucking shaking too much. Chains lash out from the darkness to shatter his magical barrier like it was made of thin glass and hope. Terror drives the Cardinal into the dark forest. A dark armored figure blocks his path. A silver-haired warrior smirks at the man, clearly enjoying the thrill of the hunt as his prey panics. The Cardinal rides his horse desperately. It's already too late by the time he realizes he's been herded into a trap like a cornered animal with nowhere left. The mysterious knight stands calmly in the shadows while holding a handful of strange red berries as if he is waiting for something. The Cardinal races past on horseback while carrying his unconscious master on his back in a desperate bid for escape. In the middle of the chaos, he touches a sticky substance on a nearby tree and pauses to investigate the weird texture left behind. Looking at his fingertips, he notices a glowing green residue that definitely shouldn't be on a normal tree. A sudden buzzing fills his ears. Agony hits him like a truck as poison begins to course through his veins at light speed, paralyzing his body. No hesitation. He screams in terror while clutching his hand as the flesh starts to rot right before his very eyes. Zephyr finally emerges from the trees while casually adjusting his glove as if he didn't just ruin this man's entire life. Our boy looks down at the fallen Cardinal with cold indifference, showing absolutely zero mercy for the pathetic man on the ground. A brutal kick to the face finally silences the man's screams as he loses consciousness and falls into the dirt. The Silver Knight Pollux steps out from the shadows, demanding that the intruder surrender and drop his weapon immediately. The cardinal begs the mercenary to save him, even offering to triple his pay for protection from the Shadow Warrior. Zephyr drops a bloody helmet on the ground, and the metallic thud echoes through the silent forest like a death knell. Pollock stares in absolute horror as he recognizes the distinctive helm belonging to his own twin brother, who was supposed to be nearby. The real Silver Knight is dead. Zephyr reveals he's been using a special potion this whole time to see right through their pathetic disguises and petty lies. Without a word, he smashes the imposter's hand with a brutal stomp that echoes with the sound of breaking bones and screams. Raising his massive blade into the air, the warrior prepares to end this once and for all with one strike. A massive lightning blast suddenly erupts from the trees, illuminating the entire forest in a blinding white light that stuns everyone present. Zephyr emerges from the thick smoke while swinging a heavy hammer to deflect an incoming attack from a new source. He clashes with a new, powerful enemy who seems much stronger than the trash he just folded a moment ago. A man wielding a massive red sword blocks his path, radiating an intense pressure that would make most warriors run away in fear. A grotesque monster form begins to manifest behind the newcomer, showing the true nature of the dark power he is currently hiding. The creature slams its massive fist down, creating a shockwave that rips through the forest floor and uproots several trees. Ned and a mysterious woman watch the battle from the safety of the bushes, waiting for the perfect signal to join the fray. A sudden flashback shows Ned witnessing the brutal murder of his family by the very people they are fighting right now. Zephyr stands over the defeated imposter. With no warning, he swings his blade in a wide arc to clear the area of any approaching threats or hidden enemies. The Golden Knight calls for help. A priest quickly buffs the nearby soldiers with a high-level spell of strength to give them a much-needed fighting chance in battle. A mage casts Shooting Star, raining down deadly shards of ice on the enemy from the darkened sky above. Zephyr parries the ice with ease. Before anyone blinks, he lands heavily on the ground, the impact creating a spiderweb of cracks across the stone floor beneath his feet. The Golden Knight attacks once more, determined to crush the nuisance that keeps getting in his way during the raid. But our boy moves with impossible speed, dodging every single strike as if he already knew exactly where they were landing. In the same breath, he glares with unwavering confidence. Blades clash with a deafening metallic ring, sending sparks flying in every direction as they push each other back and forth. Zephyr catches the golden spear with his bare hand and crushes the metal as if it were nothing but wet paper. The knight finally realizes that his own reckless attacks are doing significantly more damage to the building than to his slippery douchebag opponent. The entire structure begins to crumble around them, raining debris down on the chaotic battlefield while everyone tries to find cover. Zephyr uses the falling debris to his advantage, leaping from stone to stay out of the knight's reach while escaping. Cool as ice, he leaps from the pile of rubble and disappears into the dark forest before anyone has a chance to stop him. The Golden Knight is left fuming in the smoking ruins, absolutely humiliated that he let his target get away so easily today. Zephyr confronts the blue-haired man. With a steady calm, he warns the man to step aside immediately, or prepare to face a very painful and permanent death in these woods. Instead of retreating, the man draws a flaming sword that reveals the true extent of his hidden and terrifying demonic power for all. He transforms as intense flames engulf his entire body, turning him into a living torch that radiates a wave of heat. The monster starts counting down, giving our boy one last chance to flee before the real fight for survival truly starts. The warrior charges forward without hesitation while wielding a stolen silver sword that glows with intense borrowed magic as he pours his very soul into the blade. A massive swing meets the flame. The two swords resonate with a high-pitched hum, amplifying each other's power until the air around them starts to vibrate with energy. The demon transforms his arm into a sickening mass of writhing tentacles that lash out to catch his scumbag opponent completely off guard. In a snap, he strikes with a massive wave of green energy that smells of decay and death, melting everything it touches. Zephyr deflects the blow, but the sheer force of the impact sends him sliding back across the dirt like a rag doll. He realizes his scumbag opponent has the terrifying ability to mimic the properties of both metal and living flesh at the same time. Acid sprays from the writhing tentacles, melting the ground wherever it lands with a hiss and a cloud of toxic fumes. A beam of light shoots skyward. Zephyr summons the rise of the dragon technique, causing a massive surge of power to radiate from his blade and shake the forest. Stone calm, he switches to dual dual-wielding axes mid-fight. A massive shockwave blasts the surrounding trees apart as the two forces collide with a boom that can be heard for miles. The demon finally reveals his true form, turning into a disgusting mass of writhing and pulsing flesh that defies all logic. For a split second, he prepares a devastating, final attack. Our boy takes the hit directly, using his enchanted cape to absorb as much of the impact as possible to stay standing. In the mess, he is thrown back with incredible force, crashing through several trees before finally coming to a stop in the deep brush. The demon advances with a confident smirk, thinking that the fight is finally over and he has won this bloody encounter. Zephyr stands back up while dusting himself off, a cocky smirk playing on his lips despite the obvious damage he took. In a snap, he reveals that he knows exactly how the demon's power works, which completely wipes the smug look off the monster's disgusting face. Using a blinding flash of light, he manages to momentarily disorient his enemy in the middle of the dark and dense woods. He appears behind the motherfucking monster in a split second, moving much faster than the creature could ever hope to track with eyes. The demon unleashes his full power, causing a dark and ominous silhouette to tower over the battlefield like a vengeful god. And then he launches a bird-shaped energy blast, but Zephyr simply slices through the attack with ease, treating the massive blast like it was nothing more than a light breeze. A massive golden slash cuts through the sky, lighting up the darkness for miles around and announcing the end of the fight. The demon slams into the ground with a crater-forming impact, looking completely defeated and broken by the superior warrior in every way. Zephyr emerges from the settling darkness, looking completely unscathed, as if the entire life-or-death battle was just a light afternoon warm-up. With calm precision, he points his sword directly at the fallen creature's throat, ready to end its miserable existence and move on to the next target. A flashback reveals the moment Zephyr first met Ned, and how they decided to form an alliance against the growing cult threat together. In seconds, he explains the Twin Knight technique. The two of them fight in perfect sync, covering each other's weaknesses and making it impossible for enemies to land a clean hit. He teleports using the crow's cloak. The demon screams in pure agony as his arm is severed by a lightning-fast strike from the shadows before he can react. Our boy unleashes a whirlwind of slashes that leave the monster with no room to breathe or recover from the sudden onslaught. Right away, he strikes with a speed that literally blurs the air around him, becoming a phantom of death in the middle of the woods. The monster's mana is being drained fast. Zephyr's sword suddenly sticks to the demon's blade, locking them together in a test of strength that the monster is clearly losing now. Ned steps in from the side and stabs the demon from behind, fulfilling his promise of revenge for his fallen family members. Zephyr uses the perfect distraction to land a critical hit that pierces right through the creature's black heart with a surge of light. Blood sprays everywhere as he pushes the blade even deeper, ensuring that the demonic entity has no chance of survival or regeneration. In one move, he punches the demon square in the face with a lightning-charged fist that sends sparks and teeth flying into the air, right then and there. So he grabs the creature's face and burns it with pure holy energy until it starts to smoke and melt into the ground. A massive lightning explosion consumes them. Zephyr stands victorious in the crater. A quick flashback shows the Earl explaining his son's unique abilities and why they are such a threat to the world's order. In a heartbeat, he walks away from the fire. Commander Lucius reunites with his family in the ruins of the temple as the dust finally starts to settle around the survivors. Several days pass as the people work together to rebuild and recover from the devastating attack on their holy and peaceful home. A grand banquet is held to celebrate the hard-won victory and to honor those who fought so bravely to defend the temple walls. Zephyr and Ned sit down with Lucius to discuss the aftermath and what their next move should be in this changing world. The commander offers them a special gift as a token of his eternal gratitude for saving his people from the possessed horde. No second thoughts, he reveals Olden's severed head. Ned stares at the head of the man who killed his father, finally feeling a sense of closure after years of pain. While everything goes sideways, he reads through a secret document detailing the enemy's complex and terrifying plans for the near future of the entire continent. The Eastern Union Union is apparently plotting to summon the god of destruction to wipe out all life and start a new era. A map shows the continental divide. Reports claim that 2 legendary dragons have already begun attacking the Western Alliance with devastating force and no sign of stopping. Zephyr clenches his fist tightly, knowing that he is the only one who can stop this impending doom before it's too late. Lucius officially appoints the 2 of them as Temple Knights, granting them authority and high status within the church's military force. Our boy accepts the title stoically. He also receives 3 bags of gold. In the mayhem, they shake hands to seal their new alliance, forming a bond that will be tested in the coming days of war and chaos. A magical cage suddenly appears in the middle of the room, catching everyone by complete surprise as alarms begin to ring out. The demon trapped inside the cage breaks free and reveals his true, unhideous form to the shocked guests at the grand banquet. Zephyr doesn't waste a second before blasting the creature with a concentrated beam of holy light that burns through the very air. The demon is quickly reduced to a small, writhing larva that looks completely pathetic compared to its previous and terrifying form. The commander quickly shields Ned from the blast as holy energy floods the entire room and shatters the surrounding fine glassware. The tiny larva actually starts to speak, taunting the group one last time with a voice that sounds like grinding metal and teeth. Tired of the talking, our boy simply crushes the bug with a single blow that leaves nothing but a dark and oily stain. No stalling, he activates a glowing magic circle to contain any dark energy that might try to leak out and infect the innocent survivors. The demon's soul tries to escape by flying around the room, but it hits the barrier and bounces back like a fly. But the curse loop binds it tight, preventing the shadow from fleeing back to its master in the Eastern Union's dark lands. With steady composure, he draws the sword of light. The demon begs for its life. The angel Mercedes appears in a flash of light, watching the execution with a calm and distant expression on her beautiful face. Zephyr flips a gold coin high into the air as he prepares for the final blow that will end this creature's life. Straight away, he decides to propose a risky bet to the demon before killing it, just to see if luck is on its dark side. The coin spins in slow motion, as everyone in the room watches with bated breath to see where it lands today. Soon after, he warns the monster to behave. For a tiny moment, he flicks the coin one last time, with his eyes glowing a menacing shade of red that signals the end of the game. A sword descends with lethal precision, while lightning vaporizes the demon from existence and leaves only a pile of ash where the monster once stood. The gold coin lands on the floor, perfectly split down the middle by his incredible speed and accuracy in the heat of battle. Zephyr slams his fist into the demon's chest for good measure, making sure every last bit of its essence is destroyed forever. The creature finally disintegrates into a cloud of purple smoke that slowly fades away into nothingness as the banquet hall goes silent. A massive blast of energy clears the entire room of any remaining dark aura, leaving the air feeling clean and pure once again. The warrior stands alone in silence. He explains to the others that the result was technically a draw, even though he clearly won the exchange and the bet. Zephyr smiles to himself, looking genuinely satisfied with the outcome of this chaotic and incredibly bloody series of events in the temple. No second thoughts, he tells Ned that in this world, you can only trust the people you truly know and who have bled with you. The scene shifts to a grand ballroom where the upper class is gathered for another event far away from the front lines. A man enters the room carrying a large bouquet of roses, drawing attention from all the noble guests in their fine silks. Ned hesitates for a moment, wondering if he should reveal his true identity to the people he once knew in his past life. Princess Altair stands on the balcony. Her brother Polaris presents her with the flowers. But she seems completely uninterested in the gesture or the man offering them to her. A flashback shows a younger Zephyr. Back in the present, he wakes up in a luxurious room that's far better than anything he's used to after living on the road. The angel Mercedes explains the upgraded silver key perk, which gives him access to even more powerful abilities than he had before. Before anyone processes it, she welcomes him to her own personal dimension, a place where time and space work very differently than in the mortal realm. In one clean motion, she informs him that the gods are watching, and they demand constant entertainment from the mortals they favor in this mortal world. With a simple snap of her fingers, the entire room changes to reflect her current mood and the power she truly holds. Without thinking think twice. She warns him not to blackmail gods. The warrior simply sips his tea, looking completely unbothered by the threat from a higher being who could unmake him with a thought. Immediately, she explains that nothing is free. In a snap, he receives a misty bracelet reward. Lucius watches them ride off alone. At that exact moment, he thinks about the day they will finally return to help him finish what they started in the name of the church. A flashback shows Eurydice and her lover. Zephyr crushes a guard's head under his heavy boot without even looking down at the man he just killed in cold blood. Princess Altair watches from her window. Our boy looks up and locks eyes with her, a silent message passing between the two powerful individuals who will change the world. In all the chaos, they arrive at the massive Lindell fortress, the seat of power for the local royalty and their legendary army of elite knights. The guards block their path immediately, demanding to see some identification before they let anyone inside the gate for the royal party. Zephyr shows them the official letter from the Holy One, which causes the guards to hesitate in fear of the High Church. Ophelia, the princess's bodyguard, challenges him. Before anyone reacts, she slams her weapon into the ground while the surrounding suitors watch in absolute shock as the fight between the two warriors begins to heat up in the courtyard. Altair is a powerful sorceress and ruler. Ophelia smashes the ground again to test his reflexes, wanting to see if this newcomer is actually worth the hype and the letter. Zephyr accepts the challenge with a confident smirk, not looking intimidated by her display of raw power at all in this moment. The other warriors watch from the sidelines, clearly intimidated by the casual confidence our boy is displaying right now in front of everyone. The bodyguard draws her lethal rapier. A priest from the Sky Temple watches the unfolding conflict with a look of intense interest and suspicion on his wrinkled face. Zephyr casually steps aside to let a messenger pass through, showing that he's not even taking this fight seriously yet. During the challenge, a butler guides them inside. They enter the grand hall where the princess is waiting for them on her high and ornate throne, surrounded by her noble court. The arrogant priest gets slapped across the face for his insolence, proving that the royalty here doesn't tolerate any disrespect from the church. Noir boy sends a persistent suitor, flying with a single punch that sounds like a gunshot in the silent and high-ceilinged hall. In one smooth motion, he apologizes for the minor disturbance in a calm voice that doesn't sound very sorry at all for what he just did. The butler scolds the incompetent guards. Zephyr asks if she likes his personal greenhouse, showing that he knows more about her than he probably should as a stranger. No time to waste, he bows deeply before Princess Altair, showing just enough respect to keep the peace while still maintaining his own pride as a warrior. In one smooth motion, she extends her hand with curiosity. In a snap, she asks what a man like him can possibly do for a powerful ruler like herself in this kingdom during these dark times. Zephyr unleashes a massive mana burst. Ophelia attacks once more with her sword flashing in the light, but her movements are way too slow to his experienced eyes. The warrior dodges effortlessly while pushing her blade aside with the back of his hand, as if he were playing with a child. Even a direct stab to the chest fails to pierce his skin, revealing the legendary defense he has built up over many battles. Suddenly, he catches her sword with his bare hand and holds it tight, completely neutralizing her most powerful attack in one effortless move. A swift kick sends her skidding right before he appears behind her neck to end the duel before she can even blink or realize what happened. Zephyr calmly asks if he should continue the fight or if she has seen enough of his true power to satisfy her curiosity. The bodyguard admits defeat while looking genuinely impressed by the skill and speed of the man standing behind her in the hall. Without delay, he presents her with a crystal. Altair asks what he wants back. Absorbing it will awaken her power. On raw instinct, he leaves the hall after promising to return with the blue dragon's head as a gift for the princess herself in the future. The princess realizes that this mysterious man knows deep secrets that only a select few in the world possess about her heritage. She begins to suspect that he might have actually met the legendary Eurydice during his time in the ancient and forbidden tomb. When he kissed her hand earlier, she felt absolutely no warmth from his body, which felt like ice to her skin. In no time, Saji saw a sudden vision of lightning and immense power that convinced her that he is far more than just a mortal man. A masked figure reports to the new leader of the cult, bringing news of the recent and unexpected developments in the capital. The leader orders his followers to ensure that Olden's sudden absence causes no issues for their grand and dark master plan for dominance. Altair holds the mage crystal tightly, while ambition begins to burn in her eyes like a growing and unquenchable fire for power. A quick flashback shows a tender and rare moment between the legendary Eurydice and the man she loved in her previous life. The crystal connects directly to her mind, revealing a flood of ancient and forbidden knowledge that had been lost for many centuries. The spirit of Eurydice herself appears within the crystal, Ein looking down at her descendant with a very proud expression on her face. By reflex, she greets her descendant and heir. Zephyr returns to the party after getting dressed formally, looking more like a noble than a battle-hardened and lethal warrior from the temple. That fast, he tells Ned to wear both bracelets at all times to ensure that they stay completely hidden from the eyes of their enemies. No hesitation, he assures his ally that the mysterious woman is not a threat to them or their secret mission right now in this fortress. A disguised man watches them closely. The ballroom is filled with nobles. A knight introduces himself as Smith and tries to strike up a conversation with our boy about the recent war in the West. No delay. They discuss the recent rumors about the temple raid and how a single man managed to defeat an entire legion of elite knights. A man suddenly recognizes our boy from earlier in the day and starts pointing him out to the other guests in the ballroom. Without a thought, he finally realizes that everyone in the room has mistaken him for someone else, which works perfectly for his own secret plans tonight. Whispers fill the room while the warrior remains unbothered. The merchant leader tracks his every move with eyes fueled by pure avarice. Purpose drives every step as he navigates the fortress's hauntingly silent corridors. A lonely candle provides the only light for a servant walking these dark halls. A massive hand drags the servant into total darkness. From the high balcony, he surveys the vast kingdom that destiny has tasked him with protecting from the coming storm. Cold moonlight outlines the silver-haired warrior as he prepares his soul for the difficult journey ahead. Brief flashes of a happier life with a young boy and his cat haunt his mind. A final, heartbreaking goodbye to his mother marks the end of his innocent childhood. Steeled for battle, he moves with absolute precision. A powerful aura suddenly disrupts the quiet night as a challenger steps out from the oppressive gloom to block his path. The warrior's sharp gaze snaps back with enough killing intent to make any normal fighter collapse in pure terror. Eerie blue light begins to pulse from the enchanted bracelet strapped to his wrists. Ophelia studies him with intense suspicion, sensing that there is something deeply unnatural and dangerous hidden beneath his calm exterior. Neither side moves as they silently measure the lethal potential of the opponent standing before them. His stone-cold expression betrays absolutely no emotion. The air rings with the sound of steel as the duel ignites without a single word. A lethal blade misses his throat by inches. Steel clashes against steel in a rhythmic dance of death that illuminates the darkened courtyard. A hidden blade emerges with viper-like speed as she tries to find a gap in his defense. Even as her overwhelming aura begins to shatter the stone floor, his focus remains as sharp as a razor's edge. Raw mana begins to coalesce into a towering spirit that looms over the entire battlefield. Spirit wolves howl as dark mana floods the forest. A mysterious woman wearing a plague mask stops in her tracks as she senses a sudden shift. A silent hunter tracks the progress of a lone carriage, moving through the tall grass. While inspecting a nearby tree, the masked sorceress finds a strange residue that confirms her suspicions about the intruders. Frustration boils over as she realizes the master's grand design is being dismantled by people she didn't account for in her calculations. The terrifying memory of their legendary master serves as a constant reminder of the price of failure. Scenes of two disciples enduring hellish training inside a dark cave flicker through his mind. Swirling mist surrounds a hooded figure who remains as motionless as a statue in the woods. An energy wave cleaves through the massive trees. Dark power flows through the sorceress as she summons a pack of ethereal beasts to the hunt. Spectral wolves howl at the moon, ready to rip the intruder limb from bloodied limb. A blur of motion erupts from the darkness as a predator lunges with speed that defies the human eye. Teeth sink deep into the warrior's heavy cloak. A chilling laugh echoes from behind the mask as she senses the inevitable end of this hunt. Crackling lightning wraps around his tightening fist. A violent explosion of pure blue energy erupts, vaporizing the surrounding trees and turning the summoned monsters into nothing but ash. With a glowing whip in hand, the sorceress tries to wrestle control back from the magical storm. A lone eye watches from the shadows, recording every detail of the battle for someone far more dangerous. The collision of steel and magic creates a shockwave that sounds like a thunderclap echoing through the forest. Decades of training take over as his hands remain steady while he searches for a lethal opening. A terrifying level of focus burns in his eyes, proving that he has long since transcended the limits of humanity. Blinding arcs of light slash through the darkness as the duel between these two monsters reaches a terrifying new level of intensity. The rapier flashes like a silver streak as Ophelia lunges forward with everything she has left. He catches the blade with his bare hands. Despite her elite technique, his expression remains as cold as the moon hanging above them. Her weapon is sent spinning into the distance, leaving her completely vulnerable for the first time. In a final act of desperation, she channels her internal mana until her eyes glow with a brilliant blue light that illuminates the area. A heavy kick misses its mark as the warrior flows around the attack with effortless grace. He takes to the air, narrowly dodging a sequence of strikes that literally shatter the ground beneath his feet. Mana explodes as the duel reaches its climax. Confusion takes hold as her target completely vanishes from sight, leaving her striking at thin air. The fight ends instantly as he reappears directly behind her using the legendary power of the crow's cloak. A menacing red glow in his eyes signals that he is officially done holding back against her. Paralyzed by fear, she finally understands the true, monstrous depth of the power that has been toyed with her. Wariness and newfound respect mingle in her eyes as she stares at the man who just humbled her. Ned stands alone by the quiet riverbank, contemplating the long and bloody road of choices that brought him here. He calmly watches the moon's reflection. Visions of the shadow disciple and the brutal rule of two resurface, reminding him of the dark legacy he still carries. Amidst the brewing war, he gazes into the stars and wonders if his lost family is still out there somewhere. The memory of his sister waving goodbye for the last time fills his heart with bitter, unyielding regret. An image of the woman who held his heart gazes back at him with an expression of infinite sorrow. Sadness is quickly cast aside as a cold, unbreakable determination fills his eyes while he prepares to settle the blood debts of his past. The scene shifts back to the banquet, where a noblewoman's violin fills the air with a haunting melody. Philip tracks the room with a keen eye. A predator's smile creeps across the merchant's face while he mentally calculates the immense profit this chaos might bring him. He suspects that the boy's calm exterior masks a level of cunning that is far beyond his young age. A stern warning is issued to Edwin, noting that men like this can steal everything if you blink. Edwin remains silent in the shadows of his hood, absorbing every word of his father's dangerous advice. Philip leads a massive network of merchants. Elise Brenta, the elite healer for the Temple Knights, remains focused on the situation as she waits for the right moment. Stepping through the threshold, he enters a chamber that houses the many dusty relics of a forgotten era. Flashbacks of a man riding a massive elephant highlight the sheer scale of the merchant's global influence. Records reveal that he was the secret mentor who provided the vast fortune necessary to fund the princess's clandestine operations. This family has deep ties to royalty. Zephyr runs a hand through his hair as he mentally prepares for every possible outcome of this night. With a tightly clenched fist, he swears a silent oath that he will never allow history's tragic cycle to repeat itself. The memory of training until his very bones shattered serves as a grim reminder of why he is here. Ned hides in the darkness, struggling to process the startling news of a woman resembling his long-lost sister. He walks past the staring nobles with ease. A haunting vision of a ship disappearing into a violent typhoon returns, along with the grief of losing his sister. The hero hides his shock after realizing the master he once trusted was actually sleeping with his worst enemy. Staring at the broken man before him, he realizes that their shared thirst for revenge is the only thing left. He stares at his scarred hands, the physical evidence of the hellish training he was forced to endure. Hope flickers as a sister survives the siege. Her eyes burn with a golden light that feels as much like a holy blessing as a deadly curse. Every lie his master ever told him suddenly connects, hitting him with the force of a physical impact. Rage boils over as he vows to dismantle every single brick of the cult that ruined his life. He recalls the time his own dragon spirits clashed with his allies' power in a battle for supremacy. Terrifying demon silhouettes loom over the two warriors in a vision of the battles they fought in a previous life. These two have survived hell together many times. Quick shots remind us of the desperate duels he fought against the corrupt priest and the powerful Olden. A massive surge of mana signals the creation of a technique far more lethal than anything he's used before. Three powerful figures stand united, i.e. forging an alliance that will likely change the course of the entire war. The sound of a dagger hitting the stone floor echoes through the room, signaling the official end of an era. Shock washes over his partner's face when he begins to reveal secrets about a future that hasn't even happened yet. He shares a terrifying vision of an apocalypse where the world is reduced to nothing but fire and dragons. By the light of the hearth, he reveals the shocking identity of the very last human to survive the end. Deep within the darkness of a hidden cave, he pushes his body to the limit to prepare for the Lord. Shock waves ripple through the solid rock walls. The earth shatters as Ondur, a massive and terrifying plant-like monster, emerges from the shadows to feast on anyone foolish enough to enter. Grime and blood cover his face as the warrior draws upon the very last of his internal energy. A single, overwhelming swing from a giant scythe cuts through the air and obliterates the monster's physical form. A massive seal binds the monster eternally. He turns toward his companion, eyes heavy with the weight of unspoken grief and years of bitter regret. Without hesitation, he begins to channel the volatile mana needed for a forbidden technique involving screaming red lightning. Forbidden energy crackles around his dark silhouette. A blinding flash of raw mana erupts from his body, consuming the entire canyon in a surge of overwhelming power. Three massive pillars of divine light descend from the heavens to signal that the battle is finally over. He stands in silence, grieving for all the lives and allies he was unable to save during his previous life. A faint golden glow in his eye confirms that he has already transcended to a higher level of power. Images of his past glory show him cutting through an endless demonic horde while wielding the legendary Sword of Light. Back in the meeting room, he humbles himself and apologizes for the complex deception that was required to secure their cooperation. He makes it clear that their collective strength is the only hope of defeating the god of destruction. Exhaustion begins to show as he leans his head on his hand and considers the impossible journey still to come. A painful memory flashes back to the day betrayal cost him his noble title and his entire family. A younger version of Ned breaks his body every day to repay a master who was secretly manipulating him. He closes his eyes in disgust, realizing that his entire sense of purpose was manufactured by someone who only wanted to use him. The truth finally emerges, and he listens with an expression that is both stone-cold and deeply analytical. The group reaches an agreement, deciding to bear the weight of this world-ending mission as a unified team. Philip and his crew formally introduce themselves as the princess's loyal vanguard, ready to support her in any way. A tense silence hangs in the air as the merchant and the spy trade looks of deep and mutual suspicion. A smug smirk shows he's still in control. Altair remains unconscious as her mind begins the dangerous process of fusing with ancient, primordial magic. Elise channels her holy energy into the ritual to make sure the princess survives the overwhelming transition. Memories of his time rotting in a dungeon return, making him realize how much he truly values this rest. A luminescent potion awaits the next experiment. The head healer begins the mandatory physicals. She catches him off guard by pulling him into a tight embrace to trigger her specialized diagnostic ability. He visibly cringes when strange, slug-like antennas sprout from her back and begin slithering across his skin. Ned hits the floor after the creepy checkup. Ophelia stares down at the fallen warrior with pure disdain for his absolute lack of mental composure. The princess has finally opened her eyes. The news brings a wave of relief to the warriors, though they immediately pivot back to their mission. They march straight toward toward the royal chambers. A single hand pushes open the heavy doors, revealing the princess sitting upright and looking stronger than ever before. Even in a simple sleeping gown, Altair maintains a regal presence that commands the respect of the entire room. His heart wavers for a split second as he prepares to confront the woman he once deeply loved. The spectral image of Eurydice floating among the stars returns to haunt his thoughts during this critical moment. Her eyes snap open, revealing a terrifying new level of power that seems to burn within her irises. The loyal companions surround her bedside, witnessing the miraculous awakening of the leader they thought was lost to the magic. Elise leans forward to check her vitals while the air in the room begins to vibrate with raw mana. The princess confesses that her memories of the past are currently nothing more than a collection of blurry fragments. Without missing a beat, she welcomes them inside and offers an apology for the informal nature of their meeting today. Everyone circles up in the center of the bedroom to finalize the strategy for the upcoming dragon raid. He wonders if she's reading his mind. He holds out his hand and invites her to peer directly into the truth of his long journey. She accepts his offer with a smile. She takes a moment to confirm that her magical capacity has successfully reached level 3 thanks to the power of the crystal. She cuts straight to the chase and asks if they are prepared to finish the conversation they started last week. She demands a plan for the dragon. Her gaze is a chilling mixture of beauty and absolute authority as she waits for their response from her bed. His eyes ignite with raw power as he prepares to reveal the true, world-changing extent of the knowledge he possesses. The way she carries herself proves beyond any doubt that she is ready to lead the world's combined forces. He pulls out the glowing silver key, which acts as the dimensional anchor for his massive and secret inventory. Ancient scrolls spill out across the floor. The massive merchant caravan officially leaves the fortress, protected by a long line of highly trained and elite guards. Gazing out the carriage window, he feels a sense of quiet satisfaction with how much his allies have grown. With arms crossed, he mentally runs through every possible scenario for the inevitable confrontation waiting for them in the forest. The terrifying shadow of the blue dragon hangs over the distant peaks, serving as a reminder of their ultimate goal. Edwin stares out at the plains of Danakil, saddened by how these once fertile lands have been completely ruined by corruption. The rattling of wheels on stone announces their arrival into the dark and contaminated territory of the enemy. The air turns heavy and oppressive as they cautiously peer out of the carriage to survey the landscape. His gaze sharpens immediately as he notices the subtle but dangerous changes in the surrounding flora and fauna. The forest entrance looks like something out of a nightmare, filled with dead trees and eerie, pulsating purple shadows. But Ned and the merchant leader share a silent moment of concern as they watch the darkening horizon for signs of trouble. Altair points out that the dragon is strategically poisoning the main river system to cripple the entire region from within. Standing alone against the setting sun, he focuses his senses to accurately measure the terrifying power of the dragon. The group arrives at the gates of a small, dilapidated village that now serves as a final refuge for survivors. Displaced farmers hide inside their crumbling hovels. The princess pulls her hood low to keep her identity hidden while they navigate the crowded village streets. A sudden groan of agony catches his attention, causing him to turn around with an expression of genuine surprise. He quickly discovers the knight Grimes lying on a table, his body already beginning to rot from the dragon's poison. A priest tries to comfort the dying knight. Sickly purple veins cover the knight's skin as the dragon's lethal toxin continues to spread through his entire system. Altair quietly admits that their most skilled healers are completely powerless against this unique and aggressive form of corruption. They huddle together and quickly whisper about a potential way to save the knight before it's too late. With no time to lose, he raises his hand and activates a brilliant aura that signals the start of the treatment. He pulls out a set of specialized needles that have been coated in an extremely rare and potent countertoxin. A brief memory of Fade returns, reminding him of the master who once taught him everything about the art of poisons. The guards are visibly unsettled by the absolute, unshakable confidence he shows while handling the lethal, glowing needles. With steady hands, he drives the needle into the knight's chest to begin burning out the corruption from his heart. Altair watches in disbelief as she senses the surrounding mana reacting violently to the intense treatment happening before her eyes. Desperate villagers swarm the caravan to receive the food and basic supplies they need just to survive another night. Regulus Danakil makes a grand entrance on his warhorse, radiating an arrogance that instantly rubs everyone the wrong way. The Lord's son greets Philip with total disrespect. He surveys the newcomers with a cold and suspicious gaze, clearly unhappy about people entering his domain without permission. He already knows about the chaos at the parish. A single golden eye glows with an intensity that perfectly mirrors the dangerous and unchecked ambition of his own father. Philip struggles to hide his annoyance as the young man continues to treat him with absolutely no professional respect. He orders the medical station to shut down. Regulus stands at the entrance and begins shouting orders at the medical team working frantically inside the small hut. A guttural scream of pain erupts from Grimes as the hero's treatment forces the dragon's poison out of his skin. The hero's face is drenched in sweat as he fights to maintain the perfect mana balance needed for the cure. Regulus is absolutely horrified by the sight. He issues a cold warning, telling the arrogant knight to back off before he ruins a procedure he can't comprehend. With total concentration, he holds the final needle perfectly steady while his eyes ignite with a terrifying and intense blue light. Losing his patience, Regulus draws his sword and prepares to strike the man who dared to ignore his royal orders. He doesn't even flinch as a sharp, lethal blade is pressed against his throat by the angry and arrogant knight. A kick sends the knight's helmet flying. The loud sound of metal hitting the dirt echoes through the village after the perfect and punishing strike lands. Ophelia stands over the fallen knight with a cold glare, demanding to know exactly what he thinks he's doing. Regulus is suddenly groveling in the dirt after realizing he just made the fatal mistake of attacking the princess's guard. Altair watches the pathetic display with cold eyes. Without any hesitation, she steps out of the shadows and pulls back her hood, revealing her royal face to everyone. She commands the room with regal authority as she officially announces her royal title to the stunned and silent crowd. A trembling Regulus begins to beg for his life, desperate for forgiveness after treating the royal party with such disrespect. A second later, he is forced to swallow his pride and apologize to the very warrior he just threatened to kill. Altair recalls their shared time at the Magic Academy, remembering that he was always known for being far too rigid. Visions of the princess scolding him and the other students back in the day return to haunt the knight's memory. A small smile touches her lips as she realizes just how much everyone has changed since their academy days together. She admires his dedication to his people. Zephyr remains focused on the patient, ignoring the political drama to ensure the knight's recovery is progressing as planned. He glances over his shoulder, wearing an expression that makes him look far older and more dangerous than he appears. She takes him aside and reveals the truth about a secret oracle received from the goddess Aria at the Holy Temple. Regulus stares at the hero with eyes full of awe, finally realizing that he is standing before a true legend. A brief vision of Lucius shouting for the glory of the goddess flickers behind the current scene as a reminder. She pulls out the official letter from the Holy One to prove beyond a doubt that their mission is truly sacred. A wave of relief washes over the knight as he realizes he is now part of a truly legendary quest. He catches the princess off guard by casually patting her head, causing her to flinch in total and utter surprise. The group mounts their horses and begins the long trek toward the dangerous borders of the ancient elven territory. The map shows that the great forest of Elfin is massive, stretching across the borders of several different kingdoms and territories. They discuss the strange properties of elven mana. She warns the group that their horses will be unable to handle the dense magical mana found deeper in the forest. Philip looks absolutely terrified as he considers the many lethal monsters and traps that are likely waiting for them inside. He quickly contacts Mercedes in her private dimension to ask if the Silver Key can safely store humans during their journey. The angel sips her tea and casually warns him about the terrifying side effects of being stored inside the key. She calmly explains that past users have actually lost their sanity and transformed into feral animals from the mental strain. He immediately decides that it's far safer to keep his allies with him than to risk their minds in storage. A map marks their current position in the woods. A cold and hostile gaze follows them from the deep shadows of the ancient trees, watching their every move intently. Altair's expression darkens darkens as she senses a sudden and violent shift in the concentration of mana around the forest gates. He readies himself for the inevitable ambush. They step cautiously into the ancient elven woods. A solitary elf archer sits by a dying fire, lost in thought while reflecting on the glory of old tales. Glowing vines hang from the canopy, looking beautiful but hiding a lethal hunger for anyone who gets too close. A sidelong glance confirms his suspicion that they have officially crossed over the threshold into the sacred elven lands. Ned keeps a hand on his mount while tracking the movement of something dangerous hiding in the thick forest undergrowth. Altair brings her horse to a halt as she notices something deeply unsettling about the way the forest gate looks. A giant branch spirit face blocks their path. They arrive at the living gate where the ancient wood itself seems to pulse with a rhythmic, magical heartbeat. The giant face of woven vines begins to shift and squirm as it detects the presence of human intruders nearby. The forest guardian orders the humans to retreat. His hand tightens around the hilt of his sword with a level of strength that could shatter the weapon. In a flash, he swings his massive blade and prepares to carve a path directly through the ancient magical barrier. Green light signals the start of the combat. The princess steps forward onto the lush grass, preparing to use her royal authority to negotiate their way inside. She clearly announces her name and demands an immediate audience with the leaders of the hidden forest city. The Vine Guardian lets out a mocking laugh, pointing out that she has brought an entire army for a meeting. Polaris sits on his throne among golden knights. Flashbacks show Prince Polaris pointing at a map that clearly defines the boundaries between the human and elven territories. In the past, a silent truce was proposed, where both races agreed to stay strictly on their own land. The prince accepted a rare elven relic as a symbol of their agreement to live in mutual, peaceful isolation. The elven elders watched that meeting with clear fear, knowing that any human presence would eventually lead to conflict. The truce is violently shattered as massive roots erupt from the ground to crush the unsuspecting human soldiers. A spirit of the woods manifests, roaring with a deep and ancient hatred for all of mankind. Human soldiers scramble to escape on horseback as the forest itself awakens and turns against them in a blind fury. Thick vines send the human soldiers flying. A simple horse's hoof crushes a cluster of red berries, triggering a violent and explosive reaction from the magical plant. A violent explosion of fire and thick smoke tears through the green canopy, destroying everything in its immediate path. Altair is forced to watch with a heavy heart as the long-standing truce between their people is burned to ash. With absolute calm, she stands firm as a blinding light begins to pulse from the distant elven tower. A concentrated beam of pure green mana fires through the trees like a laser, obliterating anything it touches. The elven gatekeepers watch the borders from high above, using their mana to manipulate the forest's many lethal plants. Two powerful elven sorcerers focus their combined energy into a crystal orb to keep the forest's outer barrier fully operational. In the middle of the chaos, he uses his cloak to protect her from the incoming barrage of magic. Elise calls upon her divine holy power to create a massive barrier of light that shields the entire group. He tracks the source of the magical attack. Altair stands tall, her silhouette framed by the green glow of the forest and the golden light of the shield. The elven archer is left in shock after seeing the humans walk through his most powerful strike completely unharmed. Elise knows her shield is absolutely unbreakable. The elf gatekeeper can only watch in absolute disbelief as the humans continue to march forward through his strongest magical attacks. He gives the elf a smug look and orders him to open the gate before he's forced to break it. A vortex of light begins to swirl within the solid trunk of the tree wall, finally allowing them passage. He steps through the portal and finds himself staring at a massive hidden city built directly into the ancient trees. A crowd of surprised elves gathers around the inner gate, whispering about how their legendary defenses were bypassed so easily. Kiara, a fierce elven sentry, slams her staff into the ground to challenge the humans for entering her home. He moves faster than anyone can track, grabbing the sentry by her collar and lifting her like a doll. While holding her high in the air, he casually mentions that they can have a real talk after she calms down. He immediately notices something strange about her eyes, a detail he definitely wasn't expecting to encounter in this forest. Her eye glows with a golden innate power. A streak of pure light shoots into the sky as an archer signals the rest of the army for reinforcements. The tower is hit by a massive strike, causing the entire wooden structure to collapse in a pile of debris. Kiara looks absolutely terrified terrified as she finally senses the overwhelming and monstrous power hidden inside the human holding her. A loud explosion echoes from the distance, signaling the official arrival of the main elven army to defend their city. A silent archer watches from the high branches. He clenches his fist in anticipation, instantly recognizing that the newcomer hiding in the trees is a high-level master archer. The legendary Dariel is revealed, a man known to be one of the 10 strongest warriors in the entire world. The archer takes aim with terrifying precision, preparing to fire an arrow that can pierce through even the strongest shields. A green arrow streaks across the battlefield. The battlefield is suddenly filled with smoke and debris as Dariel's powerful attack lands with the force of a falling meteor. A mage named Daisy uses her enchanted eyes to transmit real-time visual information directly to her elven allies. With ice-cold focus, she begins to channel an enormous amount of mana into her staff for a devastating strike. Concentration is etched on her face as she struggles to maintain the complex magical link with her stone golems. A glowing arrow, looking more like a falling star, descends toward them with a loud and terrifying roar. He stands alone against the falling meteor arrow. He grips the hilt of his heavy black sword, preparing to deflect a magical attack that should be impossible to block. The impact of steel hitting mana creates a massive shockwave that rattles the surrounding ancient trees to their roots. As the smoke clears, he is shown standing perfectly still and completely unharmed by the archer's most powerful attack. Kiara watches the human's survival in disbelief. She screams for the archer to use his strongest ability and finish this arrogant human immediately. 3 massive fireballs known as the Red Meteors are launched from the top of the elven watchtower. He grins, knowing exactly how to break it. Altair and Elise watch the burning sky with growing dread, wondering if the warrior can actually survive this triple impact. His grip on the sword is so intense that the wood of the hilt begins to groan under the pressure. His eyes transform as the red dragon spirit within begins to take full control of his internal mana. He swings his sword in a massive arc, leaving behind a glowing trail of pure golden energy in his wake. A golden dragon rises to meet the flames. A massive explosion of white light consumes the battlefield as the 2 godly powers collide and eventually cancel each other out. Kiara can only stare in absolute terror, questioning if the monster before her is even a human at all. She grinds her teeth in pure frustration, finally coming to terms with the fact that her people never stood a chance. In an instant, she surrenders and offers whatever he desires if he will only help save her dying people. She tearfully begs him to save her tribe. The entire group gathers around the fallen sentry to discuss the specific terms of their new and unexpected alliance. He looks down at the elven girl with a complex expression that mixes his usual coldness with a hint of empathy. The elven city sits high above the rot. The elven elder examines Grimes and is shocked to see how quickly the human recovered from the dragon's lethal corruption. Regulus and the hero share a quiet moment of respect, both acknowledging the weight of the war ahead. The elven elders assemble to listen as the hero lays out his detailed strategy for the upcoming dragon raid. Kiara remains silent, her head bowed in solemn reflection as she processes the rapid changes happening to her forest home. The golden power in her eye continues to flicker, revealing a level of inner conflict she can't quite hide. He listens intently to the elder's stories about the ancient tree of life and the true location of the dragon's nest. The elder watches the hero with eyes that have seen centuries of history, sensing the immense destiny he carries. A glowing portal opens within the thick vines, revealing the hidden path leading directly to the heart of the forest. Visions of the alchemist, Fade returning from his long journeys with rare and deadly toxins, flicker through his current thoughts. With a look of deep sadness, Heron admits that their supplies of the essential antidote have almost completely run out. An old map reveals the location of the Lake of Vitality, the legendary source of all life for the elves. The shadow of the dragon flying over the canopy serves as a grim reminder of the disaster currently destroying the forest. The beast's poison is killing the land itself. The scene shifts to the war room where the leaders gather around a map to finalize their next move. Dariel kneels beside his ailing mother's bedside, desperately asking her for the wisdom needed to save their dying tribe. Philip shares some advice on elven trading. History tells of the High Elves known as the Red and Black Moon, who once attempted to conquer all human territory. Prince Polaris led his knights into a battle that permanently altered the relationship between the human and elven races. He successfully forced the elven tribes into a peace treaty that has managed to last for many generations. Regulus stares at the distant horizon, feeling a rare surge of hope that they can actually reclaim their stolen land. And Edwin takes a moment to reflect on the many dangerous merchant secrets his father has taught him over the years. Altair and the merchant leader quietly discuss the massive political impact their secret alliance will have on the entire world. Her sharp gaze spots a critical flaw. Using his precise mana control, he begins a specialized acupuncture treatment to stabilize the life force of a dying elf. Dariel observes the healing process with a mix of his usual suspicion and a newly forming sense of respect. Kiara watches in amazement as the dark dragon poison is slowly drawn out of the patient's body during the treatment. He cracks a rare smile, satisfied that his healing technique is actually more effective than his own initial predictions. Her golden eye captures the reflection of the intense blue mana as it flows through the human healer's hands. Dariel and Kiara get into a heated argument over whether it's truly safe to trust their tribe's secrets to a human. Dariel scolds Kiara for her unprofessional behavior. The infected elves are laid out on stone slabs, barely hanging onto the last remaining threads of their fading lives. An almost empty vial of medicine serves as a grim ticking clock for the survival of the elven tribe. Elder Heron prays for help from above. The elven queen's only hope for survival lies within a mysterious green artifact known simply as the Sealed Box. A high elf woman with a trident prepares to betray her people and establish her own independent kingdom elsewhere. The queen wastes away behind white curtains. With a hungry look in her eyes, the traitorous elf woman grips the sealed box and vows to take the crown. Dariel and the elder share a somber conversation about the civil war that is currently tearing their tribe to pieces. The mental image of the artifact shatters as the traitorous woman announces she is leaving the forest forever. The three leaders navigate the forest while discussing the absolute necessity of killing the dragon to save the world. Grief is etched into every line on Elder Heron's face as he contemplates the staggering number of lives lost. Prisoners are released to show good faith. Altair officially introduces the hero to the elven people and demands they place their full trust in his abilities. The merchants watch the event with greed. Philip lets out a smug smirk as he realizes that his long-term investment in this warrior is finally yielding results. Two elite sorceresses from the legendary Magic Tower finally arrive to provide the specialized support needed for the upcoming raid. Melia tracks the hero's every movement, her sharp gaze trying to uncover the many layers of secrets he's hiding. Altair reflects on her family's royal past. The mages huddle together to run the complex magical calculations required for their final assault on the dragon's lair. Meanwhile, a massive crowd in the city of Veronia gathers to witness what they believe is a royal project. A woman wearing the princess's face stands before the people to ensure that no one suspects Altair's true location in the forest. Lady Katie mimics the princess's voice perfectly. Hidden within the shadows of the city walls, a Tartarus worshipper watches the fake princess with a menacing and knowing grin. Deep in his library, Alchemist Fade remains completely unaware that a relentless hunter is currently tracking his toxic and bloody legacy. The party assembles in a small clearing to prepare themselves for the final and most dangerous leg of their journey. A close-up reveals that the local mana weed has been warped into a twisted, purple version of itself by the dragon. The weed was once a holy filter. The mutated plants have now become factories that produce an endless supply of corrupted and bloodthirsty monsters. A bone-chilling roar echoes through the woods as one of the massive plant monsters finally awakens from its long slumber. Dariel commands his elite archers to release a synchronized volley to protect the elven settlement from the encroaching swarm. He stands tall with his legendary golden bow as his hair whips around in the gathering magical winds. A map highlights the many elven settlements that have already been completely swallowed by the spreading corruption. He quietly admits that his mother is too weak to move, making this victory their only hope for survival. In the blink of an eye, he gives them a smug grin while promising to personally destroy every monster in the forest. Fire and ice magic rip through the brush. With a roar of effort, Ophelia delivers a massive blow that shatters the stone defenses of a corrupted golem into tiny pieces. Ned becomes a blur of motion as he channels his crackling red mana to strike with the speed of lightning. He follows up with a crushing kick that carries is enough force to send the massive beast flying into the trees. An explosion obliterates the monster-producing plant. The golden spires of the elven city glow in the setting sun as the group finally reaches the inner sanctuary. Gathering around a high stone table, the leaders finalize the very last details of the dangerous dragon raid. The warrior and Dariel share a tense look, both of them fully aware of the life or death stakes of their new plan. The sacred branch and the water of vitality are brought forward, the two core components needed for the final ritual. He staggers in pain, clutching his head as the stress of his massive power begins to overwhelm his human body. He aggressively points at the elders and demands that they stop wasting time with their useless diplomatic riddles. Without hesitation, he clearly lists the 3 critical tasks that must be finished if they want to save their queen. His aura flares as he demands total obedience. A terrifying close-up reveals the burning intensity in his red eye, showing his unshakable resolve to alter the tragic future. Dariel desperately pleads with him, explaining that the town's defenses will completely collapse without the protection of the artifacts. The hero shouts back that he is the only person on this planet actually capable of protecting what's left of them. With ice-cold eyes, he informs the archer that this is his one and only chance to save his people. A heavy stomp shatters the floor and silence. He leans into Dariel's face, telling him that it's time to stop worrying about the cost and start worrying about survival. The room is flooded with a blinding light as he finally decides to reveal his most secret and lethal ability. The sheer force of his mana sends loose stones flying as his power reaches a terrifyingly high and dangerous peak. Altair watches the display with an analytical eye, sensing the fundamental shift in the atmosphere caused by his massive aura. Dariel's bow begins to glow in the light. Dark scales begin to crawl up the hero's neck as the violent process of dragonification officially begins to take hold. Dariel collapses to the floor, shouting in pure frustration as he realizes just how weak he is compared to this man. Without saying a single word, the hero grabs the legendary golden bow and snaps it like a piece of dry kindling. The surrounding elves gasp in horror as they witness the destruction of one of their tribe's most valuable artifacts. He gives them a dark smirk, promising that he will forge a new weapon that is actually capable of killing dragons. Kiara clutches the broken remains of the bow, terrified of how they're supposed to fight without their strongest weapon. The elven leaders stare at the broken relic and wonder if their human savior has finally lost his grip on reality. Elise inspects the shards and confirms that the destroyed item was indeed a legendary hero-grade artifact of immense power. Dariel finally stands tall, declaring that his internal fear was the only thing that actually broke in this room. A magical projection appears in the air, showing the rare and dangerous materials needed to forge a true dragon-slaying weapon. Dariel's heart races with anticipation as he begins to imagine the terrifying level of power this new weapon could possess. He prepares to enhance the branch for Dariel. The chamber is prepared with enchanted lamps and ancient markings, setting the stage for the hero's dangerous final ritual. Heron pours the glowing water into a cup. Standing shirtless and covered in battle scars, the hero prepares to absorb the volatile and pure essence of the woods. A brilliant blue light radiates from the cup of vitality, illuminating every corner of the dark ritual chamber. He lifts the glowing cup, watching as the liquid within ripples with an immense and almost overwhelming divine life force. Dariel wonders if the human will survive this. The archer's intense expression confirms that he has placed his entire future in the hands of this mysterious human. He downs the entire cup in a single gulp, leaving the elven elders watching in absolute and stunned silence. Steam begins to rise from his skin as the pure vitality starts to react violently with his ancient dragon heart. He remains perfectly calm in the center of the magic circle, even as a storm of energy begins to swirl. The hero lets out a roar of agony as the mana in his bloodstream suddenly transforms into searing liquid fire. Without warning, the secret skill of Hermes activates, multiplying the total effectiveness of the vitality potion by an insane 500%. His body begins to warp into its draconic state, his muscles bulging as he is flooded with raw and untamed power. A status screen appears, showing the massive but temporary boost to his dragon heart's total magical power output. A chilling close-up of a slit pupil eye shows the terrifying black dragon that is currently fighting for control inside him. One of his arms completely transforms into a massive scaly claw as the dragonification process reaches its highest possible level. Altair readies her staff for the fate ritual. The ancient Moirai skill activates, allowing the goddesses of fate to weave pure power directly into the hero's soul. Altair acts quickly, channeling her mana to merge the forest's natural energy with his chaotic dragon transformation. A violent vortex of golden energy erupts from his body, shaking the very foundations of the elven ritual chamber. The hero lets out a harrowing scream as the sheer pressure of the magic threatens to rip his body into pieces. Black scales spread across his scarred chest. He gasps for air, coughing up blood as the internal strain pushes his human heart toward its absolute breaking point. Elise chants her strongest divine healing magic. Despite the unbearable agony, his eyes burn with a fire that proves he has no intention of giving up now. Holy light flows into his broken back. Altair's brow is drenched in sweat as she fights to keep the rampaging energy contained within her magic circle. Ned steps forward and places a hand on his friend's back, using his own strength to help share the burden. His dragon eye ignites to tame the storm. Working in perfect unison, the two masters of the dragon style push themselves to achieve an impossible feat of magic. A quick series of shots highlights the massive combined effort of everyone in the room to keep the hero alive. The chamber is engulfed in a final explosion of white light, signaling the official end of the grueling ritual. Dariel opens his eyes and is immediately stunned by the sight of the transformed warrior standing amidst the settled smoke. The golden cross in the archer's eye captures the true, terrifying majesty of the Dragon Lord who has finally been awakened. He steps out from the shadows, sporting massive wings and horns that give him the appearance of a true dragon. One by one, his allies collapse to the ground, completely drained of every ounce of their physical and magical energy. Altair gasps for air, using her staff as a crutch to keep herself from falling over after the intense ritual. Despite her total exhaustion, she can't help but smile, knowing they have finally achieved their impossible goal. He surveys his new form with satisfaction. He rests among his fallen friends as Dariel hands him a towel to wipe away the blood and grime. He suddenly bites into his own palm, using his newly empowered dragon blood to begin a mysterious next phase. Thick red blood drips from his claws as he prepares to harvest the necessary materials for their new weapons. A close-up of his glowing reed eye confirms that the inner beast is now under his absolute and total control. By instinct, he bites down on a piece of fabric to muffle his screams as he prepares to wound himself. With a grunt of pain, his clawed hand digs deep into his own arm to pull out the rare materials. He pulls off several of his scales. A collection of bloody scales sits on the floor, while he pants from the intense, self-inflicted agony. The legendary elven smith Noel is brought into the chamber to begin the process of crafting their new godly weapon. The necessary materials are laid out on a silk cloth, including his dragon scales and the rare rubies from the tomb. Altair activates her mage circle one more time to provide the necessary aura boost for the final forging step. He watches the work with unfolded wings. He quickly uses a complex language enchantment to permanently bind the essence of the dragon to the arrow tips. The arrow shaft begins to pulse with an ominous red and black energy that radiates pure destructive potential. A final flash of blinding light marks the birth of a weapon so powerful it shouldn't even exist in this world. Dariel is speechless at the new weapon. The legendary Black Dragon longbow is finally revealed, along with the arrows that will determine the fate of the raid. Intense training begins for the entire army. Ned takes charge of the joint training, making sure that both the human and elven units are fully prepared for war. Ophelia cuts a bloody path through the corrupted forest to scout the safest route to the Lake of Vitality. Daisy oversees the creation of a massive golem army that will serve as the first line of defense during the raid. Human workers from Donakil join forces with the elves to build the massive fortifications needed for their final stand. He meticulously draws complex magic circles on the forest floor to provide safe fallback zones for any retreating elven troops. The holy branches will repel the poison. With a deep and respectful bow, Noel presents the final set of enchanted arrows to the waiting warrior. The blacksmith looks ready for battle, having decided to join the raid himself to ensure his weapons work as intended. He looks out toward the dragon's nest. He continues his grueling training until until the final second, desperate to expand his dragon heart's capacity before the fight begins. A final status check shows that his total power has finally reached 10.5% of its former glory. The raid on the dragon begins now. Zephyr pushes his physical limits until every muscle fiber screams for mercy. The night before, the raid is the only calm moment these soldiers will get. Our boy clears his plate with a metabolism that burns hot enough to melt steel. Ophelia grabs her arm, eager for one last spar to test the princess's nerves. Altair just smiles back, ready to prove she isn't the fragile girl she used to be. Walking back to her tent, the weight of the last year finally settles on her shoulders. Every nightmare started to fade the moment this silver-haired warrior knelt before her. Later that night, Zephyr visits her quarters with a look that says, "Playtime is over." Without missing a beat, she confirms the elves are finally on board, but her voice shakes just a little. Before anyone can react, he notices the hesitation and grabs her wrist before she can pull away. For one beat, he exposes the truth she tried to hide under layers of royal poise. With eyes burning like coals, he admits the only reason he crawled back from hell was for her sake. Pulling her close, he asks her to use her unique skill to see the truth for herself. In the mess, he guides her hand to his throat to initiate the spell. Fingers interlock as the magic begins to hum between them. On instinct, he leans in until there is nothing left between them but a breath and a promise. A single kiss seals the pact and opens a window directly into his soul. Meanwhile, Daisy struggles to keep up with the workload while her hands tremble. Melia barks orders, clearly jealous of the spotlight aimed at someone else. The girl adjusts her glasses and tries to ignore the venom in her superior's voice. Melia dangles a promotion like a carrot, promising a future in the capital. Apparently, the high nobles are desperate for a sorcerer who can actually throw a punch. The elves arrive to inspect the golems, their faces unreadable masks of stone. Drums of war begin to beat as the sun bleeds over the horizon. Horns blast through the morning mist, signaling the point of no return. Mages line the battlements, mana crackling at their fingertips. Ned watches from the shadows, a silent predator waiting for his cue. Dariel stands tall on the wall, looking every bit the legendary archer he claims to be. Zephyr walks out to face his army like a king stepping toward his throne. A small smile plays on his lips as he mentally prepares for the carnage. Altair raises her staff and a wave of pure blessing washes over the troops. Golden light hits him, charging his body with divine strength. A dark transformation rips through his clothes as the dragon power activates. Wings burst from his back, and he launches himself into the sky. The high elves watch with wide eyes, realizing they underestimated the human. Black scales cover his back, marking him as a monster among men. He grins, fully embracing the power of the heart beating in his chest. Altair watches him go, her eyes burning with absolute trust. He cuts through the air like a missile, heading straight for the toxic fog. A massive flower nightmare looms in the mist to block his path, but Zephyr dives right past it, ignoring the small fry for the real prize. In no time, he lands a kick heavy enough to shatter bone. His blade sings, by slicing through enemies before they can even scream. With quiet control, he activates the silver key, unlocking a pocket dimension in mid-air. A massive golem drops from the void to crush the opposition. The floating Cyclops begins beaming video data back to base. Daisy watches the feed, stunned that her invention is actually working. Altair leans in, scanning the screen for the target. A massive shadow coils in the fog, waiting for prey. The blue dragon sleeps, coiled like a serpent of legend. The commanders hold their breath as the scale of the beast becomes clear. Zephyr knows dragons are territorial, and this silence is unnatural. Our boy descends into the pit, looking like a demon from hell. With no time to breathe, he unleashes the black dragon chain. Iron links whip around a massive branch, anchoring him in place. With steady composure, he swings through the dead forest like a pendulum. The surface of the lake explodes. A massive eye snaps open, glowing with ancient malice. Jaws the size of a house snap shut just inches from his boots. An eye stares out from the darkness of the dragon's throat. The beast clutches its own wound, desperate to heal. Zephyr knows the dragon is sick, hiding in the poison water to recover. He slashes across the monster's face, drawing first blood. For a second, he yanks the chain tight, using the environment against the giant. With a smirk, he decides it is time to go see. The chain retracts, pulling him out of harm's way. The dragon's pupil narrows, tracking the tiny fly buzzing around its head. Zephyr hangs in the air, baiting the motherfucking monster to strike. Without a pause, he plans to drag it onto dry land where it can't heal. The dragon snaps at him, frustrated by the insect he can't catch. Zephyr dives, leading the beast on a deadly chase. No warning at all, he grabs the chain and pulls with the strength of a titan. Even weakened, the dragon is terrifyingly strong. Soon after, he lands on the snout and drives his sword deep into the scales. On gut instinct, he smashes the blade down, aiming for the sensitive nerves. Blue energy crackles as he charges a massive attack. The dragon's maw lights up, preparing to incinerate everything. Priests at the base brace for the shockwave. The dragon's eye narrows in hate, but suddenly, the beast hesitates. A silver key sparkles inside the monster's mouth. He purposefully left the portal open as a trap. He dives straight into the maw of death. Mad lightning crackles around his arm as he strikes from the inside. The lightning palm explodes within the dragon's throat. The monster recoils, smoke pouring from its jaws. Its cheek swells as the energy detonates internally. A massive beam of blue fire erupts, missing its target wildly. The blast destroys half the forest in a single second. The dragon thrashes, stunned by the internal blow. He burst the breath pouch, disabling the weapon. No second thoughts, he summons the thorns of sin. A spear of red thorns materializes in his hand. Pure instinct, he freezes the thorns with ice magic to create a deadly projectile. A massive golem catches the spear and prepares to throw. The giant hurls the frozen lance with the force of a siege weapon. Meanwhile, Dariel draws a special arrow dipped in lethal poison. The arrow becomes a beam of green light. It strikes the dragon with pinpoint accuracy. The elf cheers, celebrating the perfect hit. The elves watch from the sidelines, skeptical that a human can lead them. Dariel takes aim again, his eyes focused like lasers. The arrow explodes on impact, creating a massive shockwave. The dragon roars in agony as its armor is shattered. Blood sprays from the gaping wound, but his hand suddenly freezes, caught in a telekinetic grip. The dragon's eyes glow red with psychic power. Altair steps forward to counter the mental attack. She orders the defensive formation to shift immediately. Zephyr looks back, sensing the change in the mana flow. The golems create a light barrier to shield the troops, but a massive blast hits the shield, cracking Daisy's glasses. A stone pillar is pulverized instantly. The mages are thrown back by the sheer force of the impact. The blue dragon uses telekinesis to manipulate the water itself. The dragon spits a glob of poisonous sludge. Zephyr dodges with electric acceleration. In a flash, he swings his blade, deflecting the incoming attack. A nun catches a fainting elf, healing her instantly, but Zephyr knows even a graze could kill his allies. Altair concentrates, guiding the magic with precision. Dariel prepares his next shot, sweating from the exertion. The massive door to the dragon's lair begins to close. Zephyr flies through the chaos. A tornado of water and lightning engulfs the battlefield. The dragon thrashes, destroying everything in its path. It locks eyes with the tiny human daring to challenge it. A massive explosion rocks the giant tree. The dragon tries to bite him in half. Zephyr dodges and lands a heavy blow on its snout. He gets swatted away like a fly. Before anyone can react, he crashes into the water. The dragon looms over him, ready to end the game. Zephyr activates his lightning speed again. In one smooth motion, he flies straight up, dodging a bite. In one breath, he brings his sword down on the dragon's head. The beast crashes into the water. A massive splash floods the area. Daisy watches in horror as the water rises. The poison water overflows, feeding the strange plants nearby. The plants mutate, birthing horrific monsters instantly. An army of creatures rises from the mud to attack the base. Frogs and multi-eyed beasts charge the lines. A massive golem steps up to meet them. A giant frog smirks with unsettling intelligence. The monsters clash with the defenders in a brutal melee. Daisy knows the golems are strong enough to hold the line. line, but suddenly, the golems stop moving. The elf elder watches with a grim expression. Dariel notices something is wrong. A massive blast hits the base. Dariel fires an arrow to intercept an incoming attack. The arrow collides with a beam of energy. Altair realizes they have been found. The elf girl warns that a boss-level monster is approaching. A terrifying creature made of twisted roots and flesh appears. A green arrow cuts through the air. Dariel shoots down the incoming threats. A knight blocks a massive strike with his shield. He is sent flying by the impact. The motherfucking monster unleashes a beam of green energy. A flashback reveals Olden and his cultists plotting this moment. They stand in a church, smiling at their assured victory. Zephyr recalls the information he gathered. The villains drink tea while discussing the demise of the princess. In one breath, they reveal that Lucius is currently brainwashed. Olden plans to steal the ice dragon's heart next. Zephyr stands in the poison water, unharmed. Immediately, he vows to ruin their plans completely. In a blink, he pulls out a golden potion. Like a jump scare, he snaps his fingers. No hesitation, he uses the gray golem to check the situation at the base. The silver key allows him to spy on his own team. In the same moment, he sees the chaos unfolding at the camp. A giant tree monster smashes through the defenses. Snails swarm the walls. The monster fires a beam of light. It destroys a defensive tower in seconds. Dariel realizes he is running out of special arrows. Daisy uses her plant magic to create more ammo. In the confusion, she hands him arrows made of gem seeds. Dariel fires a barrage of energy arrows. The arrows blossom into flowers on impact, exploding violently. The monsters are torn apart by the petal storm. Zephyr unleashes a flame dance on the dragon. A giant panther monster lunges at him. Altair and the healers work overtime to keep everyone alive. Monsters ride atop the dragon, adding to the threat. Dariel continues to rain death from above. The tree monster advances on the base. A knight charges it on horseback. The monster swipes, crushing soldiers under its weight. It stomps on the defenders without mercy. A massive hand grabs a falling beam. Ophelia catches the debris with one hand and kicks a knight to safety. In a flash, she stands tall, unfazed by the chaos. The monster cracks the ground with another strike. Knights are thrown into the air, screaming for help. A healing circle appears under them. Altair casts restoration magic, saving their lives. Regulus watches his men fall, feeling helpless. Before anyone processes it, he tells them to stay strong. On raw instinct, he recalls his family's secret skill, impenetrable fortress. No hesitation at all, he activates the skill, becoming a living shield. A massive fist slams into the shield, but it holds. Monsters bang on the door, trying to get in. Regulus coughs up blood from the strain. His men urge him to open the door, fearing a trap. Unshaken, he refuses, knowing he must protect the princess at all costs. With no sign, the elf elder Heron appears behind him. Before anyone can react, he reveals he was mimicking the princess's voice. He blinds the knight with a flash of light. Heron strikes while Regulus is disoriented. A green horn sounds, signaling a new threat. The golems escape the base, carrying the traitor away. Altair calls out, warning him that the base is falling apart. Zephyr smirks, accepting the impossible challenge of 10 minutes. Without a thought, he asks for a reward if he succeeds. Straight away, he suggests they continue where they left off, and she agrees with a blush. The dragon's eye opens, fully recovered. Zephyr stands before the beast, ready to end it. With chilling calm, he notes the breath pouch is half full. The dragon charges another blast. Zephyr summons the stake of faith. For a split second, he casually stole it from the church earlier. The nun recognizes the holy artifact and panics. Zephyr kisses the orb, preparing to unleash hell. Giant golems stomp through the forest. The traitor elves celebrate their escape, but Daisy reveals she copied their magic circle. She explains her mockingbird skill allows her to replicate spells. The traitors think they have the seed of the tree of life. Heron plans to plant it and become the new king, but the box opens to reveal nothing. Zephyr had already switched the boxes. Ophelia kicks down the wall, finding the real traitors. Zephyr fights with the dragon heart pulsing inside him. He slashes through the dragon's defenses. Altair leads the charge, looking like a goddess of war. The elves realize they were played. Dariel dominates the battlefield with his bow. Heron realizes Dariel was the true leader all along. The Tree of Life chooses the king. Dariel refused the title, wanting only to be an archer. Heron watches his plans crumble. The other elves felt abandoned by Dariel's modesty. The Red Moon and Black Moon appear. In one clean step, they are revealed to be former High Elf champions who turned traitor. Now corrupted monsters, they seek to destroy the kingdom. A massive insectoid creature emerges from the tower. It roars, shaking the forest. The merchant confirms these are the elves who left to start a new kingdom. The Red Moon has become a twisted moth monster. The golems charge into battle. A bird golem snatches the box from the air. The tower explodes. The traitors finally get their hands on the box. Inside is the item they have sought for 3 years. Masha, the Red Moon, is revealed. Right after that, she has lost her mind and only craves destruction. Black Moon Ramiel lies defeated on the floor. A dark figure summons them.